which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the April 10th, 2019 Board of Selectmen's meeting. On the agenda this evening, we have a request for a one-day liquor license, Bay State Brewing. We will need to close the annual and special town meeting warrants. We will be voting on the warrant articles and hopefully can move on to the line item budget.
I'm doing public announcements.
No.
Okay, yeah, I'll save it.
Okay, are you here for the,
No, we're not. We're just here to watch.
oh, it's more comfortable at home. Okay, everybody have this request from Sean Rich? He had come in, he didn't realize that the bonfire is before our next regular meeting. So he did want to put in a request, and we already had one request that we approved for a one-day liquor license. The only question I have is it says 6 to 10 p.m. The bonfire actually ends at 9:30, so if we approve it, I would suggest putting 9:30 instead of having people hang around that extra half hour. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Anybody want to make a motion
Make a motion with the amendment
to
to end
approve
it
it?
at 6:30 instead of 10 PM.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 301. Okay, now we do have the, we need a vote to close the annual town meeting warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, we need a motion to close the special town meeting warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, now we can, at any time until warrant is actually posted, vote to reopen if we have need to. The only thing this restricts is we cannot accept any more petitioned articles. Okay, so, does everybody have their draft? We can start, but Annie Rossioli from the Recreation Committee is coming in, and she asked if, when she is here, if we could do those so they don't have to hang around to the bitter end. Okay, so the first article is Article 1, to hear reports of several boards and town officials and any other committee that may be ready or take any action thereto, sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a motion to place and support?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Article 2 is Community Preservation Committee report. To see if the town will vote to hear and act on the report of the Community Preservation Committee on the fiscal year 2020 community preservation budget, and to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund a sum of money to meet the administrative expenses and all other necessary and proper expenses of the Community Preservation Committee for fiscal year 2020, and further to reserve for future appropriation amounts as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee a sum of money for the acquisition, creation, and preservation of open space, a sum of money for acquisition and preservation of historic resources, and a sum of money for the creation, preservation, and support of community housing or take any action relative thereto. Any questions? Is there a motion to?
Motion to place and support.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm just letting you, so it's a little easier on Janae,
Yes. Yeah.
right? If it's non-controversial and the same person does it, I'm looking out for you.
Perfect.
The cat didn't get my tongue, I just thought it'd be,
Easier.
yeah.
Okay. Article 3, Community Preservation Committee Administration Funds, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance a sum of $22,000 to be allocated for the purpose of operating and administrative expenses in fiscal year 2020 for the Community Preservation Committee, or take any action relative thereto. Okay, sponsored by the CPC. Is there a motion?
Motion to place and support.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, I was reading in the Beacon today that the state money that we get back for community preservation is down to 11.67% for this coming fiscal year, the lowest it's ever been. So,
I got a request, and I don't remember off the top of my head who it was from, but to issue a letter, to join in a letter of support to the legislature to keep that higher.
yeah, because when
Working on
we
that.
were one of the first communities, and we initially had gotten 100%. We will probably, hopefully, get more than the 11.57%, because we do have the limit of 3%. So in the second round, we'll be eligible, and there could possibly be a third round, but we can certainly support that letter.
Absolutely.
Okay, Article 4, Community Preservation Debt Service, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Community Preservation undesignated fund balance the sum of $81,625 for the purpose of paying the debt service for OSV land, $45,275 for the purpose of paying the debt service for the Heinz Farm acquisition, $106,482 for the purpose of paying the debt service for the Town Hall/Center Office renovation project, and $29,550 for the purpose of paying the debt service for the Recreation Court project, or take any relative action thereto. Sponsored by the Finance Director. Is there a motion?
Motion to place and support.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Okay, Article 5, Community Preservation Committee gravestone restoration, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund historic fund balance the sum of $9,500 for restoration and repair of 15 to 20 gravestones, or take any action relative thereto. Doesn't this usually say one cemetery or the other?
Usually does. I thought it did.
Yeah.
See what I got.
I know initially it started out with just the,
Isn't it?
Old.
Yeah, usually.
but I do know there was some damage done at the new North Cemetery with a tree or something.
She is.
Hello, Annie. Hello.
To Fannin Layer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it says in the notes.
Yeah, it doesn't say what cemetery.
No.
Well,
We come back?
yeah. Well, do you want to place it?
Yeah, I'll place it. I'll make a motion to place it. And for the, till we find out the name of the cemetery.
Yeah. Chase, I assume?
Second. Yeah, sorry.
That's
Sleeping
okay.
at the wheel.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Okay, Article 6, Community Preservation Committee Comprehensive Housing Study, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund, the Housing Fund balance, the sum of $22,500 for the purpose of funding a comprehensive housing study or take any action relative thereto.
This all comes from their funds, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to place and support.
Yes, and this, from the housing fund balance is quite a bit in that because
Yeah.
they haven't used it.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay. Okay, Article 7, Community Preservation Committee, Riverland Development and General Trail Improvement. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance the sum of $30,350 to fund the Riverland Development and General Trail Improvement proposal or take any other action relative thereto.
I have Mayor, I have a question. What are we talking about with Riverland Development? Do we know?
I assume it's the trails. I know that,
Do we have, just a question, do we have a report on how far they've gotten with these trails? Like how many miles of trails, or how many miles they hope to do and how many miles they have accomplished?
well, it's someplace, but we could re-ask them for it.
You get a trail report.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm looking for how many miles they hope to finish and how many they have actually finished,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
Okay, so what do you want to do with the article?
It's their money, so I'll place and support.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 8, Community Preservation Committee Town Cemetery Signs. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Committee Preservation Fund Historic Fund balance a sum of $1,000 for the purpose of construction and installation of 2 signs, one at each of the entrances of the historic burial ground and North Cemetery, to deter rubbings or take any action relative thereto. I know this was a request from the Historical Commission. I'd like to know what's going to be on the sign before I vote for it. It says to deter, which means to kind of say, please be careful. I do know they wanted to ban any rubbings, which I don't totally agree with. I mean,
Yeah,
they've been doing stone rubbings in Boston for hundreds of years.
I think they want to ban rubbings. I think they want to put a notice that the dogs should not defecate or urinate on the gravestones, or particularly urinate on gravestones,
Yeah,
those kind of issues.
yeah. But I'm not in support of banning the rubbings. Besides, I'm not sure if it's still in the curriculum, but 3rd grade always had a big field trip to the common and around the cemetery, and they did rubbings, and,
Can we just, do you want to just place it or hold it?
it's up to you.
Or hold it?
Okay. What,
Yeah,
Mary?
I'll ask you later that, I don't totally understand what rubbings are and.
Oh, you put a big- I know, you put a big sheet of paper over the stone, and the flat side.
Okay, and
No.
you etch it.
Yeah, and, because it's raised or indented, you get the,
Imprint.
yeah, and the kids love it, and I can't imagine we
A lot
have
of
too many
people do that,
tourists
yeah.
that do it.
Can we hold it?
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Hold on, 8.
Because we are the cemetery commission,
That's right.
besides,
Among other things.
besides being harbor masters,
I mean, I would support totally the
animal one.
absolutely, and that may, I mean, I have a feeling it's gonna cost $1,000 regardless of what is written on the sign. You know what I mean? If more
Well-
things are written or less things, it's not gonna cost less than $1,000, because it's the
Yeah.
cost of erecting the sign itself, not necessarily what we're writing on it. So,
Yeah,
anyway.
but, Okay, Article 9, Community Preservation Committee, again, Grand Trunk Trail Central Section feasibility design study. See if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund, Open Space Fund balance, bless you, the sum of $16,650 for the purpose of funding the Grand Trunk Trail Central Section feasibility design study, or take any action relative thereto.
I'm going to ask this question again. What exactly are we looking to do here?
Trails.
I
I
but
know,
how much
but
money? I mean,
How much trail?
how much
Yeah.
trail and how much money for trail?
Yeah.
And until, I'm not going to support this at this point until our TA gets us that report whenever he can.
Yeah,
I'd like to hold it.
okay.
I'm going to make a motion to place it.
No problem
No
with
problem.
placing. Okay,
Second.
place. Mary D. Jeez, okay. All in favor? 4-0. Okay, Article 10, Community Preservation Committee, OSV easement costs for Grand Trunk Trail easement. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from Community Preservation Fund, Open Space Fund balance, the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of funding the OSV easement costs for Grand Trunk Trail easement, or take any action relative thereto.
I'm going to go with the same question. Where is it and what does it mean? What exactly are we asking for here?
I know what this one means.
Oh, okay, good.
I think OSV has traditionally been very cooperative with the easement requests, as long as it doesn't cost them anything. So this is legal costs, filing costs, those kind of things towards recording the easements. That's what this one specifically is. The other broader question you have, I don't have that specific for you.
Okay, so this is just to cover the legal costs and filing costs, if you will? Okay, all right,
Because they haven't finished
thank you.
the entire Grand Trunk one.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Place and support.
okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay. Article 11 is the town budget. We'll wait on that. Okay, we can take the rec now if everybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is from Barbara, she's watching at home. Her understanding is that Barbara Search is going to come to the board to discuss the $9,500 request on the gravestones.
Barbara is?
$1,000
It's
request.
1,000.
no, the thousands for the sign.
Oh,
Thousands for the sign.
Oh,
We can
oh, oh.
ask her both, because I talked to her a little bit about both, so.
Okay.
So-
I mean, it's just, we really just need to know if it's one cemetery or two. Because it originally started as one, but they may be, there aren't quite as many historical markers in North Cemetery as the old cemetery. Okay, Annie, we'll switch.
Thank you very much. Actually have this just breaks down because it gets a little bit confusing with having seven.
Thank you.
Three, four.
Do you have this that we have, which is the draft of the warrant articles? Because,
They're, yeah, and they're not,
Janae, could you make a copy so she has it in front?
they're not in the order that we had discussed at the joint meeting,
Oh, okay.
so but that's no problem, that's just renumbering.
Just so you have it in front of you, because if any of us refer to it, I want you to have it too.
Yeah.
I'm printing it off right now. So many papers. If not, I have several.
Do you also have all the proposals from CME as well?
I do, because,
I do.
I don't think so.
do you both have them? Annie has them.
I have them, and I have several copies. I just don't think I have sets of all three for each person, but I can pass them around too.
Or just maybe.
Yeah.
We were only given a draft of the 60-70 joint several meetings ago.
Okay, I
So
didn't
we don't
realize
have,
that.
Personally, 70 alone with just
Yep.
rec, and 60 with just rec.
Okay.
The only one that we got, I believe, a few meetings back was the joint 60-70 together.
Well, at the very least, we'll share yours and pass
Yeah,
my packet around.
perfect.
This one can stay. These are one of each of the proposals.
Okay.
Do you have one for 70 that's both rec and senior center?
Yeah, we haven't received the updated one from CME yet that pulls 60 from it as we requested. So we still have the same one from,
One, the first one.
number 3807.
307.
So the second one in the packet, what's the date on it? Second page,
That's February 18th, 2019.
this one. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's $74,000. Is that the joint proposal that was discussed at the meeting the other day?
yes, but it's not updated. We need the language to have 60 removed and then the costs reflect that. And both parties have voted on it. It's reflected in the meeting minutes. Senior Center had no opposition.
Oh, can you just introduce yourself for the record and the audience at home?
You want to go first?
Annie Rossioli, Recreation Director.
Erin Carson, Recreation Member.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks
now,
for seeing these, moving these articles so we could be here.
Yeah, I know, we have to stay, but we can get people out. Now, when we discussed putting the joint article first, right?
Before either individual party for
Yes.
70, but after the sole request for 60 from REC. So the senior center's request for additional money to extend their feasibility study, and then the request for 60 Cedar Street. I'm not sure which one of those would go in front of the other, but those two were supposed to come before the joint proposal. Then the separate proposals for 70 would come after if the joint proposal didn't go through.
But only if the joint proposal.
Yeah, but I thought the joint proposal was going to be the first proposal.
Well, 60 was a priority, but I didn't print out Ken's minutes, but every time we've talked about it, the joint proposal would be the third one.
I must have been at a different meeting, because I know even Jeff took it that way too, and I know even Ted, because we had advocated that if you have a joint proposal, you'll have two groups of people supporting it. And if that went through, then some of these others we wouldn't need, we would pull them.
So the joint proposal would go before the two separate requests for 70 Cedar Street, but it would go after the project for 60 Cedar Street, which is the rec only and the priority for rec, and it would go after the senior center's request for additional money to finish their feasibility study. And then talking with Jeff and Barbara again on Monday. But Ken sent me his meeting minutes and I can compare them. But it wouldn't make, I don't know if it would make sense or not, but we wouldn't be prioritizing the joint project over the plans for 60 Cedar Street.
Oh, see, that's where we were mistaken.
And
At
the
the
senior center
meetings.
would need to finish their feasibility study first. I thought that would be pendant on it as well.
Jeff, what do you remember?
I just remember a joint proposal being first.
Yeah, that, from all of our meetings, we've had 60 submitted first. The joint proposal is a secondary request. 60 Cedar Street is the main reason we're here tonight, the main reason we're looking at the rec area. I've listed it over and over with Ken, and I can email all of our minutes after if you want, but from rec ends, it's never been discussed as first.
Mary?
Yeah, I just want to, just give my 2 cents, or maybe it's only 1 cent. But it makes total sense to me that the joint proposal would be before the individual ones for 70, because for the people who want to support the joint proposal, that would go in front of rec having only 70, or the senior center having only 70. But in terms of, hold on, in terms of 60, my understanding was that was always recreation's priority. I think that land is already in the control of.
Yeah.
So there's going to be people, and I'm just putting it out there, that may very well support 60, because I think it will probably involve significantly less money. And they are not going, they may or may not be inclined to sign on to the joint proposal on 70. So I think it makes very good sense to put 60 first, and then joint 70 and individual 70, because if the joint 70 goes down, individual 70 for rec or the senior may come to fruition. But I think that my understanding was that rec always wanted to develop 60 for one field,
Yeah.
Right.
notwithstanding expanding on to 70. And,
Correct.
yeah, so
No,
it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, but it was always, and at the last 3 meetings I was at, it was always put the joint proposal first.
Ted and I had a follow-up meeting with Barbara after the last one, and in her office, we made a list, and the joint proposal wasn't first. So Ted left that meeting with the same impression, too. I just don't, I think it makes an already confusing situation more complex, but it's not the recreation's priority.
We don't
We've been
want to
working on
confuse
60.
people. It seems as if there's a lot of verbiage in many articles that's kind of similar, and I think that it might be confusing to the public if we go forward with the
Priscilla?
combined first.
I'm kind of hearing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just how I'm hearing it. You're not as enthused about the joint proposal as the individual one. Am I right? Or am I hearing it wrong?
It's 2 separate proposals because 60 Cedar Street has a one field project on recreation land that's already under the care and control of rec. So we feel like that is a very strong project to bring forward to the town as far as cost and the
60
project
was-
is already
No,
started,
60
so.
60 is strictly recreation. That's
And then when
one-
70, when we talked to CME, we had a meeting, this is back in January now, we spoke with CME about doing a phased project, so 70 being in the secondary parcel for seeking funds to see if rec could expand fields from already having 60 possibly, then moving into 70. We were not 100% aware that senior center was also looking at the same property until later on into our project. So once we found that we were both talking about the same property, that is when we combined with them to see about putting recreation and what we're calling a community center on that
Right.
property.
Right. That's how I'm understanding it, is a community center, so that any group that wanted to use it in the evening or late afternoon could,
Right.
aside of the senior center, people who would use it perhaps during the day and even at night.
But there is still the feasibility, as you can tell by the articles here, there is still a possibility the senior center study would come up with a plan to possibly stay right where they are and not utilize 70. So that's where there's also, that possibility as well.
Okay, so let's say that happened. Let's say that the senior center study said, no, you know what, stay where you are.
Right.
What would you do with 70? Or what would be your thinking on 70?
We have,
If you look at the proposal, there's a list of what we would be looking at.
there's some needs, Legion-size baseball field, another multi-purpose field, and a dog park.
Okay.
is what?
Yeah, the last proposals use everything from 3 fields, parking, dog park, outdoor fitness center, and potentially a building. We most likely wouldn't go forward with the building if it was going to be rec only on 70, because we can keep costs low, we can utilize the bathrooms that we already have there. But it makes sense to look into it from the very beginning. And that's, I think it's described in the last paragraph of the last proposal. The joint community center rec project would only allow us to probably have a Legion-sized baseball field. Doesn't look like we can fit 2 fields. We worked with planning department when Rebecca was still here a little bit. She dedicated some of her time to make as to scale images as she could, so we could see very loosely if this was a good idea or not. So it looks like with the community center, with the request between what they're looking for parking, for square footage, we would then only be able to fit in 1 field. Maybe a dog park, maybe not. It'll be interesting to see where the wetlands are outlined and what our parameters are. But if the joint project didn't go forward, rec fields, and our original idea was to look at 60 as phase 1, 70 as phase 2. It is a really great spot to develop. It's already our rec area, and there's plenty of amenities and plenty of things we could do with it.
Okay.
But from the very start, we weren't planning on submitting the separate proposals for 70 because we were pretty much guided not to. And so that's what was a little bit confusing for us last week with the senior center. And also why we're looking forward to coming here to kind of weigh in more input.
Chase had his hand up earlier.
Yeah.
Chase?
So, because I mean, this is just me personally, I like the rec to be all rec down there. That's a rec area. I'd like to see 60 and 70 be rec. That's where I'm gonna go with it. So I would vote yes for number 1, and then yes for number 3. Now, you have them as separate, but that would be, I guess what I'm getting at is that's $100,000. But that would be a package from the engineer, correct?
It would be, yeah, so when we break up the proposals
Yeah.
individually, it comes out to be more expensive. If at town meeting, 1 and 3 went through,
Yep.
we would be able to go back to the original proposal that we received, which is 49,000 for 60, and then only 11,300 more to look at 70 at the same time.
That's what I want.
Yeah. And that was the original goal. February 1st is when we received that proposal, and it's.
That was Rec's plan from
That's a good
day
plan.
1.
Yeah.
The image and what we were basing our plans for 60 Cedar Street off, they actually go back to 2009. And so then that's when I reached out to CME. They had done just a really, really loose conceptual plan. And I'm not sure at the time why it didn't go forward. I think the committee had chosen to look at doing the town barn, trying to focus more on the tournament style. But 60 Cedar Street, at the very least, has been on Rec's mind for some time.
So I want this to pass personally. I don't feel it's a good look for the townspeople to vote on $100,000 when it's potentially 60. How do we get that to you to show, to portray to them that it's 60,000 for the 2 surveys? I mean, do we go back to the original and put a hold on this, or what's, that's my personal.
I think that your question is a big reason that we're here to talk about it
Right.
tonight,
Yeah.
because
That was
I
our
understand
plan.
what you're saying through and through, and it was the original plan. The committee was really open to doing the community center. A big influence behind that was being told that it would never go through if we did opposing articles, and that it wouldn't be supported. So although the committee supports the combined proposal, I think a lot of it was out of pressure. We don't want to lose 70. We want, at the very least, some recommendations there, but the underlying need and desire. But I think at this time, it would be best for the selectmen, everyone to weigh in. I think we're here for a little bit of guidance on the 3 articles.
Well, I may be naive, but I don't think the rec committee was pressured into it. I think it was just a very logical reasoning that if we had both presented as one, you would have more voters supporting both. But if they didn't want that, then it would be separate articles. But I
We
thought
were
you,
told
I
by
thought,
the acting
I
TA
don't-
that
I
we
came
had
to
zero
the
chance.
Senior Center Study Committee meeting in February, and I was told directly when I raised concerns about giving up the property for rec only, that the project would never go through unless I combined with the
Oh, see, I
Project.
was at that same meeting and I didn't get that.
Acting-
one.
Ted was very
Acting
abrupt about
TA.
it in every
Mary.
meeting.
Okay, look, this is personally what I think, because there's going to be a lot of opinions different ways. It's a feasibility study, so people are going to want to look to see what can you get for fields if it's only 70, as you said, Legion size, multi-use, lacrosse, soccer, whatever, and what can you get if it's joined with a community center / senior center, because I don't know what it's going to be called. There's a lot of seniors that don't want it to be a community center. So I'll just call it a senior / community center. Residents are going to want to see it both ways, just like they're going to want to see it both ways in terms of renovating where the senior center is now and what it would cost for a new one. So I would support them separately as well as together so people can make an educated decision. Because I know the first thing I said, because I realized that 60 is one field that's relatively inexpensive compared to 70 on either side. So that was set aside as 60. And then my immediate question was, okay, I want to know, I'm going to throw numbers out. Let's say it costs $5 million to renovate the existing senior center. And then you want to know, okay, if people are going to go for that, for a feasibility study, you want to know what rec can get on 70. Just like to make an educated decision, you want to know, okay, the community center is going to cost $10 million. Now what is rec going to get? One field and $10 million for a community center versus $5 million and two fields. So I think you need to look at it both ways. So I understand where the joint proposal came from too. But also, it could very well come back that the pros and cons of the cost-benefit analysis is such that the senior center should stay where it is. Let's say that is a scenario. You don't want to have to go back to the townspeople again and say, okay, well, now we want to know what we can do with 70. Because residents can say, we already approved the feasibility studies. So I'm in favor of having a 70 feasibility study for just recreation and a joint one, so we can compare apples to apples. And 60 is its own animal. I mean, that really...
Yeah, that's totally different.
That's totally different. And so, to me, you know, again, put that one first, but I understand where the joint would come before either individual proposal in 70. So maybe that was some of the miscommunication when they said, well, the joint one should come first. The joint one should come first when you're looking at 70, but not when you're comparing 60. So that could have been some of the confusion.
Yeah, we're not the senior center is not looking at 60 at all.
Right, but
Yeah.
but you know, when we talked about saying at the meeting, everybody thought the joint proposal was going to go first. The unspoken part could have been, well, first compared to 70 for just rec or 70 for just the seniors, you know, and not thinking about 60. And that could have been where the confusion arose.
Well,
'Cause
why don't,
We listed it out several times, so I
Right.
think it's listed in the meeting.
I got one question, though. Do we have one article too many?
Well,
Because we...
44 and 45.
We have 1, 2, we have...
46.
We have, look at the amount of articles, because what I thought we needed was a
It's
60.
21 and 2.
Right? We needed a 60, which is Article 42. Okay?
Go one
We
forward.
needed one
next to each other.
article for a joint on 70, and then you needed one for just recreational fields on 70. So that's 3. It looks like there's 2.
The one for
That-
11,000 shouldn't be, so Article 44
Shouldn't.
would be the mistake.
Okay.
But I understand the
Why?
confusion from that too is when, if we were doing rec only, looking at 70.
Is only
at the
going to
same
be
time as 60
11,000.
Is only 11,300 more as a separate proposal.
well, why don't we
Yeah,
agree
don't want to be confused to people.
They will.
to move on? Why don't we agree to put the rec 60 first?
Which it is, I think. It already is.
No,
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
60 is.
42,
no.
No, the senior center.
Feasibility, senior center's
Oh, I'm sorry.
first.
I'm sorry. You're right. I apologize.
that
Oh, mine 41 for this, yes.
Yeah. So why don't we
Well, it's
put,
okay, 'cause this is where we start. So they would do the senior center first.
put Article 42, make that 41.
Are we removing 41? Or we're moving it?
We're gonna move it.
Okay, so we're gonna make Article 42, 41?
Yes, and then, Article 43,
Yeah, we're missing,
the joint one,
are they supposed to print on the
Right.
backside?
should be second, so
That's
that would be
42.
come Article 42. And then,
Parking at seniors 40, feasibility.
Oh my gosh, they have another one?
This is,
then that leaves us with the senior center.
what is that, the original 41
The original 41
will be 43?
will be 43.
I have a question for Annie. I don't want you to answer for the seniors, but I guess
And then-
give me your understanding, and I'll ask the seniors as well.
Okay.
I was under the impression that they were looking to, a feasibility study for where it currently exists, and then a joint one on 70. I was not aware that they were also interested in having 70 all by
That was
themselves.
That's
News
what we
to
found
us.
out last week.
Okay, so that is new.
You only heard about that last week? Because
Yes.
that's come
We
up.
had discussed it once, and Ken had just verified that he shouldn't be submitting his own, and I said, no, because we're not submitting our own, we agreed to do a joint proposal. We were approached, we agreed, and then we found out last week, that's why I was pretty
Yeah, because
upset at
they
the
had
meeting,
their-
and we discussed it for so
The
long.
senior,
Well, the seniors want 70 entirely to themselves.
Yeah, and that's the main reason.
yeah, well,
that-
they want a comparison between 70 and,
If they were
I
gonna
knew they
build-
wanted the comparison, but
Yeah.
I thought it was share, I thought what they initially what they wanted was the existing senior center or a new building.
On 70.
70 with one field for rec.
no. They
Well-
originally wanted either the building they're in now or 70
Without the recreation at all.
without the rec.
Okay, I
And
don't
then
think
when-
Annie realized that either.
Figure it out.
Mary,
We had clarified
Yeah, because
several times
they
that that
didn't,
wasn't happening.
they didn't realize that the rec was looking at it.
We
when they
never
came up
intended
with-
to put in an article on our own unless it failed. Unless the senior center study committee came back with that they were gonna stay right where they were. That would be the only way that rec was thinking we were gonna put forward our own. But then as soon as we had our meeting on Monday, Annie brought to our attention that they were pursuing 70 alone, and so that way, we basically had no other choice except to also pursue 70, which.
so they want, so they really want 3 possibilities for the senior center. They want where they are now,
Yeah.
70 sharing it with rec, and 70 having it on their own.
Right.
They want 3.
That's not.
Well,
Okay.
don't they want
Yeah,
to be-
that's
No,
when it gets
70, not 60.
redundant.
Chase?
Okay. I'm confused, so we're gonna back this up.
Oh, welcome.
Well, they each want
Yeah,
70
yeah,
on their
no,
own, and
no,
they
I
want
understand.
70
I
together.
understand. And for me, it's about, personally, for me, the rec area is for rec. I'm not saying the senior centers don't need a new senior center. I like where they're at now, it could be renovated. Rec area is for rec. Can we get an article showing that 60,000 for the study for 70 and 60?
It's here.
It's here.
That's our
Sort of-
first proposal, but because there's so much in limbo with 70, we can't risk losing 60 being in limbo for several years, because loosely speaking, with conservation, with planning, it looks as though there is a good chance that 60 could go forward. That's the main reason that we can't join the proposal.
knows that. That's
Right,
what's
I
going
just don't feel like the town people voted down for $11,000. You know, a difference between a feasibility study for 60 is 49. But if we do both at 60, I just don't see you having a risk of losing that over $11,000, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I understand. So if we had the first warrant article.
60 and 70, $60,000 for the study for both of them for rec.
But then
It gets
that's,
so
That's-
confusing.
yeah, and then that's gonna step on the joint study of the
Right.
thing. They, do you know where 70 is?
It's right next door to,
Cross
yeah,
the street.
right?
Well, it's up, you have to go through, there's a lot of wetlands, and so it's not like really what you would consider.
Then we shouldn't be
Tough to
spending
get
all the
to.
money on the feasibility studies for that spot, whether it's senior center, rec, like, then we're dumping too much money into even looking at it.
Well, no, that's why you do a feasibility study to, you get a cost estimate on what it, and that's what the Senior Center Study Committee started out as. Do we renovate, addition where we are, or build a new place? We had put out requests for buildings or lands, and got 0 proposals on that. Priscilla?
Look at the discussion we're having here.
Can you imagine
We're
town
confused,
meeting?
Okay, and it's confusing to us, and we live with this. We do this all the time, okay? To the average voter coming to that town meeting is where my fear is right now, okay? I also, I'm gonna ask you a question. You just said about conservation. Are there any ducks gonna show up on there that are endangered
In
species?
January, we had a
Oh,
meeting.
it's always salamanders.
Well, whatever. Are they
January-
gonna show up?
In
Because
January,
they
we had
have
a meeting
way.
with Conservation, at that time, our facilities director and CME, and we went over the whole property, and she feels and our planning department, and they feel very strongly that 60, as designed, has no issues. We have no wetlands, we have wetlands, but we're out of the zone for the field. There's no endangered species, doesn't look like there's ledge there. Our DPW director had done some testing there and looked like the gravel there was good.
I just don't want you to.
Everything looks good for 60. That's why it's so important to our, to the rec, that we keep it separate, because we've already waited so long, and
I agree.
we're so close to possibly getting this.
I couldn't agree with you more,
Yeah.
and I agree with Chase. I totally agree. That's why what I'm saying is, because I want you to win. I
Yeah.
want you to get there.
Yeah.
And that was my questions about, every time we buy a piece of land that's gonna go for fields, some inobscure object
Yeah.
pops up that wasn't there. I mean, it's a joke sometimes, okay? And that's why I'm saying, I don't want you to have to go through this and all of a sudden find out
Yeah.
there's something growing there.
And that's why I'm really reluctant to look at not town-owned properties too, when we
I
have
get it.
70 just sitting there for so
I
long.
get it. I get it.
And I mean, at some point in time too, when you look online at the maps, it's already marked for playing fields. I don't know, I can't find anything that proved a discussion. So it seems like it was talked about one time, it was someone's idea. I'm not sure who updates the maps and who controls those. But it definitely seems like that was the original plan when they took on the property.
Do they touch 60 and 70?
Yeah, so you would have to access.
70 is only basically accessible through 60. It would only be accessible on Karen Road, which is really not the greatest for traffic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
private.
And it's a
Yeah.
private road. So ideally, if you were developing 70, the access point would be where the old skate park is.
Right, so,
You would put a road right through there.
so if you got wrecked on 60 and 70, 60 access is 70.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem, and that all comes out in the feasibility study, is that if a senior center went there, or a community center, you wouldn't be able to have just one egress.
Right.
You would have to make use of Karen, which goes into Seneca right there. I mean, there's so much involved. Mary, your arm's getting tired.
I know, I gotta conserve myself for Monday.
For Monday.
I appreciate what Chase is saying, but personally, I'm not willing to risk you asking for a combined feasibility study on 60 and 70, because one project is much bigger and the other project is small and isolated. And for those who are attending, who are thinking, well, why can't rec just get one field? Why do they need 3 or 4? Your 60 could go down, not over 11,000, but it could go down because they're not willing down the line. See, people don't just look at it as this is a feasibility study. They're looking at what the feasibility study leads to. And they may not be willing to say, yes, you should get one on 60 and a Legion field and a multi-use field and that whole big project. And what would happen is you're going to be out of luck on 60 too.
Yeah.
And it's not always the 11,000. I remember the Shepherd parcel, which was an ideal location, and all we needed was a language clarification in the deed. There was no money on it at all at that phase. And by 11 votes, or a handful of votes, it got voted down. And I inquired of a few people that voted against it, and they said, well, we're not going to vote for a language change now because we don't want fields down the road. So some are going to look at it like it's not the 11,000, it's this multi-big complex field, you know, like 4 fields. And why can't they be happy with one? And if you don't have 60 on its own, you're going to be waiting again to go before the townspeople. That's just the way I'm thinking, because I honestly thought the Shepherd deed change, I thought that was going to fly by. because it was just to clarify a deed, and there was no money, there was nothing yet. And everybody said, no, because we don't want fields on Shepherd. So, you combined it, it's only 11,000, but you're gonna, if the 60 and 70 went down, and it could also go down because people would be sitting there saying, no, we want that joint proposal on 70, and if rec wants 60 and 70 together, we're voting it down.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like you're mixing too much if you try to combine 60. And I don't, you're saying, what's the extra 11? And I totally agree with that. But there's going to be residents there,
perception of-
there's going to be residents there that are there to vote for that joint proposal on 70. Or they're going to be there to vote for a senior center only on 70. And then you're going to lose 60 because it was a combined study. That's just the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff, input?
Yeah, let's have some.
Convoluted.
Well, I think, and I'm new to this conversation, but I think there's a certain amount of, for lack of a better word, desperation at this point for both projects, because they've both been, kind of germinating for some time, and there's kind of a desire for expediency to get something on the warrant so we can move something. So I think somehow that has to be boiled down into two distinct questions, or two or three distinct questions that provide for a senior center where they are or somewhere else, and then a field complex, 2, 3, multi-use, whatever it is, on 60 and 70. I think that's your best bet. I know we talked a little bit about Shepherd today. That's long-term, but I think you need to get past the desperation and figure out what you really want to do and what's going to be in the best interest of the programs you're going to put there.
I agree with that, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Yeah,
right?
how do we do that?
But I think
But
your
should-
idea of doing the joint 60-70 rec only needs to be on there somewhere. I do think you need some kind of a question about relocating the senior center, and what do you do with the existing building? Can you do something with the existing senior center? I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
People are
that's
gonna wanna know, why don't you just keep it
Well,
there?
that was the original feasibility study. We had a needs assessment done, and we were going to move to a feasibility study of
Bless you.
renovation, addition there, or on a new land.
Right.
And the only land that looked viable for it was 70.
Right.
That's how that all came about. And as I said, we did put out a request for proposals on land or buildings and got nothing. So
The
that
only-
was what the feasibility study was going to do, compare those two, what would be best for the senior center. The joint came up after, quite a bit after.
The only thing you don't get from the there was a needs analysis done on the senior center. They're saying they're short 5,000 feet, plus or minus. The only thing you don't get, we're leaving it where it is the single story, which is, you can put all the other amenities in it and
Right.
renovate it and new HVAC and roof and everything else. You just don't get the single story. That's really the only downside, if there is one, to keeping it where it is. But the rec program, I think, you're gonna have to have enough land to have more than one field, right? If you're gonna invest in infrastructure in that location, you want multiples, wherever you
do,
put
but
them.
You do, I agree, except
But they don't have to be built right away.
I understand,
You
but.
gotta sell- you
but
gotta
when
sell
you
a
combine-
program.
I get it, because rec wanted phase one, 60. 60 compared to what 60 and 70 will cost together is significantly different.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to give residents an opportunity to at least support one field.
Mm-hmm.
And when you combine those feasibility studies, you run the risk of losing everything. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's going to be people that want to know what that joint proposal is like. And by just combining 60 and 70 together, we're not giving rec the same benefit, if you will, that we're giving the seniors. Because with the seniors, we're looking at leaving it where it is, and then them moving to their new piece, and then the joint. Whereas with rec, we're saying, well, just combine 60 and 70 into one proposal. They also don't want to do that because they run the risk of people voting it down based upon how they view 70 Cedar Street. And 60 has been in the control of the Recreation Committee for many, many years, where 70 hasn't been. So I personally, and it's obviously, you know, the rec is an elected body, but to me, it makes very good sense to have a feasibility with both, but at least get one feasibility study where you can have one additional field. Because this has been now, since I've been on the Finance Committee, Matthew was 11, and he's 22. Under Jim Malloy, he had so, you know, when you said it's both been mulling for a long time, well, this has been going on for almost 15 years. So if you can get a feasibility study for 60 passed, I say you should do it, personally. And I'd love a feasibility study for both of them, too. You have to be able to look at all your options. And if 60 and 70 got voted down because of people's views on 70, you're waiting till special town meeting to come forward again with just 60, and you're going to lose another 6 months. So,
6 one, half dozen of another. Priscilla?
From what I hear from people, what I'm afraid of is the one field will fly, but they want more than one. And that's what I'm hearing from people. And I'm afraid it's not enough. Let's go with the one field for the moment, okay? And then you come back next year, you're gonna want, let's say the senior center thing falls apart, and you're gonna wanna get 70. Now people are gonna look at this as like, again? And that's where I'm afraid. I know people want this, and you know yourselves, it missed by a hair, and because it was the price tag. But this here is feasible, because it is in the recreation area, and it kind of has the mindset of, because it is in recreation, and like you said, you can use some of the buildings, you can use some of the stuff, everything's in one area.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in favor, I kind of agree with Chase. I'm really caught on the fence, like trying to decide which side I'm going to go to, but I'm leaning to more than one field, because this is what I'm hearing.
So last year with the town barn field, our biggest question, feedback from everyone was why wasn't it phased? So
Right.
again, why we thought 60
Yeah.
and 70 were so
Yeah.
great, because it's
We could phase the
phased.
project.
Yes,
That was-
right. Exactly.
Most importantly, though, we don't have one functioning multipurpose field, and it's getting a little crazy when I think about it. What we have at the town barn isn't regulation size for anyone out of elementary school. It's the same field I played on. We have football, cheer, lacrosse, and soccer, all out of Sturbridge, who don't have one field. Another huge benefit to 60 Cedar Street is the parking. We have 0 parking for a program that has 11 staff, 90 campers on a busy day, 0 parking for basketball and tennis courts. So the parking that would go between Cedar Road and the field alone is a huge need that we have for the rec, and we would be looking, if that field didn't go through, at some point, we need to be looking at cutting out that hill and putting in parking. So when we don't, I understand what you're saying, but our biggest critique last year was not phasing it. And if it was maybe a baseball field in this location, I think I would feel differently. But when we don't have one functioning multipurpose field and it fits in, so well at face value, if we could make it clear that I don't know, 70 always had the potential to be more, but even without 70, 60 alone is a huge help to the department.
Can I clarify what I said? Because I want to just make sure this is clear for the record. I'm not saying just go forward with 60. I'm saying do a feasibility study for both. 60 and 70, a feasibility study for that, and 60 by itself. I'm not saying only go forward with 60, but I agree, it seems that rec just can't get it right, because when they go for all of it, Shepherd and Town Barn, people are saying, why aren't they satisfied with just one field? And I heard it in my own meetings at different times.
Yeah.
And now now it's like, no, go for all of it together. You should have a 60 feasibility study, and you should have a 60 and 70. We should spend the money to get a feasibility study for both. For both.
No, I agree. I think I'm getting screwed up with what I'm saying here. I'm just saying the feasibility study for both at 60, because I'm looking at the numbers.
Right.
You start adding up 50,000, 60,000, and we got 200 grand in studies. I think that's a waste of money. I think we need to clarify the wording to show that we could do a study for $60,000 for both for rec. I'm not talking about building more than one field now. I'm saying
Just
the
the study.
cost of the study
Right.
needs to be more clear to the residents, that we're not gonna spend 200 grand on studies. We're gonna spend 60 and then a joint with the senior center. That's what I'm trying
I have to agree with Chase, is that's basically the reason why I came today, is I feel like however many articles we have here, 6 articles, is too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah,
Too
it's
much.
too much
And
money
then
on
now
studies.
there's
We
another
gotta
one for the
simplify
senior
it.
center too.
And I didn't, we're unaware that, I mean, it's probably a small amount of money, but we were never aware that the senior center was also looking for a little money to add parking there. That-
It just adds more into the jumble.
It just adds a little,
To add
couple,
parking
another
senior center.
article to.
Article
to-
46.
40.
I'm sorry, is it 40?
Yeah.
Yeah, 40, yeah.
That's,
so many.
that's totally different.
That's 100% different.
Is
That's
that a
why-
petitioned
I get that,
article?
but
That was
they're
from
right.
Mike.
It's
Yeah,
all
but-
tied together. People are gonna tie it
I've not seen a
together.
petition.
I'm just looking at the cost of all the studies added up
Mike
together.
submitted it.
Mike submitted it.
Yeah, but he can't,
Yeah.
he can't
And we're-
submit,
And rec department doesn't want to go
he
against.
can't submit an
Doesn't want to
article
go
by
up
himself.
against another department.
This is
like,
from
up
Mike,
against another
number
department.
40,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
says Board of
It doesn't
Selectmen?
look-
Well, it's his.
It doesn't
suggestion.
say.
No, it's,
Recommendation,
No sponsor.
oh, there's,
he made that perfectly clear, that he wanted 2 warrant articles for consideration at an earlier meeting, and you can either support it or not, but he
Yeah, but he never,
submitted
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
yeah, but he never ran them by us.
he never said anything to
No,
us.
he handed
Yeah.
us all a
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah, no,
I
he-
didn't get a copy.
Yes,
I
we
don't
did.
recall that.
We all got a copy.
Maybe I wasn't here.
And he
I
also
could have been,
That could have been the day you weren't here, but we got
I
a
don't
copy.
recall it.
Because I actually think the parking there is a good short-term solution, but that doesn't concern you.
yeah,
So,
no, that's,
I'm happy doing the feasibility on 60 and 70. I just don't want to see you lose 60, that's all.
yeah, but I think doing it that way, I don't think you're
I
gonna,
don't think you're gonna lose it. I don't think you'll lose 70.
you'll only lose it if the joint proposal between the senior center and rec goes through.
Well, that's why we're keeping 60 and 70 so isolated, because you
Yeah,
can't
but,
miss that.
but the suggestion is not, the suggestion is to combine 60 and 70.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
the
I'm
main
saying.
reason CME was also being really difficult to work with, we pulled 60 separate because we couldn't get them to change the language. They're looking to put the entryway, they want to put a road right through 60 where the field would be, which a To the couple senior issues with center. that is we would make a 4-way intersection at our only rec area in town. And the only reasoning on their end wasn't anything other than an overall design flow. And I made sure there's no issue with just moving the road point down, but I've asked repeatedly if that needs to be really clear in the proposal, and it got to the point where we said we need to separate 60 and protect it, just because we weren't receiving any help with rewriting the proposal.
Yeah, so
Because
that-
we could have said in the original 60 Phase 1, and we could have structured it that it could have all been together.
So I understand where Chase is coming from. You want 60 and 70 together, and then a joint proposal, and you think it's gonna pass. I get it, and that, I understand that. That joint proposal, does that still have the road going through 60?
The one with this, the senior center joint, so
Right.
what you have, yes, because we haven't received the updated proposal, both parties voted that
That-
60 gets pulled entirely, and that's just when we
Right.
haven't heard back from CME now.
So yes, the
So
way.
but right now, they're,
Just
CME,
engineering, though. I mean, that's
right, so you have
that's just
to, I
engineering.
get it, but you
If you
gotta
re-
make
if you
sure
re-
that
if you re-
CME.
This joint proposal that we do have for 60 and 70, if you look into the details, it's one field total for 60 and 70.
Exactly, and that's what I
That's-
said to you when I.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know, but that's what I
Yeah.
said to her when I read that.
That's
We
why
had that
we're-
long conversation,
Yeah,
Annie.
reading.
And I said, when you do that joint proposal, you're losing 60 altogether. And that whole joint proposal, you end up with one field and a parking lot or a road through 60.
Yeah, and I've
For
expressed that to the
X million
engineers.
dollars, which is, in my opinion, extremely disadvantages the recreation community to do a joint proposal and end up with one field.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons I said, you gotta leave 60 out of it, you've gotta get your own feasibility for 60. And if the joint means you're gonna lose 60, then I'm not gonna support the joint proposal. Because that could be $10, $15 million project, and you're gonna walk away with one field. And that's just not gonna meet the needs of our families.
No, I'm not gonna support the joint.
I'm
I
not
think
either.
rec is rec, and I think that they've waited a long time for an area that works for them, and I feel like this area works for them. I just think we gotta draw a line in the sand and say, this is the rec area, it's all rec, 60, 70, we can phase it, we don't have to do it all at once, but that's rec.
But could
So
see, I
you're
get
not in
it,
favor of a joint senior?
could,
No, I'm not, no. Personally, I have no problem placing it, because I understand that, the senior community has put effort into looking there, I have no problem with that. Personally, rec area is rec area for the rec.
Oh, no,
That,
now, can the CME, this is what I would like CME asked. Can they do an engineering, because I'm not totally, I do want to compare the two senior places, because if it's a community center, then all ages can enjoy it. So I just want to know, can they come up with a plan that doesn't touch 60 and has a field and a community center on 70?
That's what we're waiting for the updated.
Okay, that's very
proposal.
important
Yeah.
for me to know.
And both parties, so reflected in our minutes and the minutes from the senior center study, we confirmed a couple of times, we've talked about 60, because they do not hurt each other, because there could still be an access point. Senior center was totally fine with removing 60 from the language of the joint proposal.
Okay, so good, so they're on board, because I
Yeah.
do,
We're
I
just
do
waiting
want
for
to see.
CME. I've asked three times now.
So maybe our town administrator can help, because
Yeah.
they're gonna have to come up with a plan that leaves 60 out. Because I actually would like to look at both. I want to see what we get with the renovated senior center, and what kind of community center we get, like,
Yeah,
compare
and that's what I
the
tried to
money.
break down in the 1, 2, 3 that I had passed out, just what each of the changes would be in the proposals for 1 and 2. The third one would be left alone because it is the most updated, but changes to be made to this proposal, remove 60 from the language entirely.
And how long have you been waiting for the engineers to tell you if they can do a design that doesn't include 60? 'Cause to me,
Conversation has been going back and forth. Originally, he said he could do it, but expect to receive pushback from senior center, and I said,
That's not his, but that's
So
not
that's
his
what
call.
the-
They're engineers.
yeah.
They should just be doing what
Yep.
you and the senior center asked them to do. They're not there to be PR for either party.
yeah.
And the
So
seniors don't have
past 2
a,
weeks, I've asked once each week, and then I need to do another follow-up. But I've been consistently asking for a while, directly asking twice for the past 2 weeks.
Can we get an
And
image?
he responded immediately and sent me the information for 70, but in terms of
they
getting the
know?
updated proposal,
Does the rec know?
Well, if I may jump in. With CME, they've done a lot of work for us. And probably on the fields, they can continue, but on the buildings, they lost their architect. So they have some kind of informal relationship with the person who has been doing the building feasibility analysis. So we may want to move to another firm to do any more building projects.
did you know, were you aware of that?
I just got told on Monday.
Oh,
I got an email from the gentleman we've been working with.
that's probably why you haven't had any answers.
But I don't
Well,
know
it's
if that
strange because he
affects
sent
their
me
civil
70
department.
Immediately.
I don't know if that affects the rest of their group. I'm not familiar enough with CME to know who's left and who's doing what. But I just know from a building perspective, they don't have an architect on staff anymore.
And I would think you would need an architect to know if you can design the building in an area that's not going to require egress through 60 Cedar. I mean, to me, that's an architectural kind of.
All they would do is take a 15,000 square foot block and drop it in
Right.
and just.
But
they
how
kinda
you get
around it.
there.
Yeah.
You would have to, because honestly, that's going to affect whether I support the joint proposal. Like, I actually support a feasibility for both, but certainly not if 60 is sacrificed, and then the net result is you get one field. If 60 can be left alone, I think it's worth it for residents to be able to look both ways, because a community center that allows everybody to enjoy it, including the recreation camps for when it rains, because I know right now the kids go under like a little pavilion.
Wait in the pavilion until
Right, and
parents
so they
have to
could
come
utilize
out.
it too. But again, I'm being redundant, but not if it affects 60, so.
Well. Okay. Article, what,
Can I
do we
throw,
straighten?
can I throw
Yes.
one more huge monkey wrench in
Oh,
this?
sure.
Please do.
One of the things, and Andy and I talked about this morning, and maybe you have it somewhere, I've not seen it. Where's the needs analysis for the rec programs? How many fields do we need? What age groups are we going to serve? What sports do we want to support? How many acres do we need? Where's the interrelationship between what the school can offer and what the town needs to provide? Have we done
There was
that?
one done in 2011, as a matter of fact.
That's an open space and rec plan, but does
Yeah.
it talk about how many fields we
little
need to
different
serve what age
Talking
groups?
about-
It
What?
was,
That plan that she's talking about is a little bit different than what
Right.
you're talking about.
yes, but that's the closest we've ever
Right,
had.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't have.
Well, there was,
I haven't-
there was a recreational study group back with Jim Malloy in 2000, I want to say, and 5.
Right.
And there was, they walked all the land and everything, and we ended up with designs for two areas.
Okay.
Because there was a need for multi-use lacrosse,
Sure.
soccer, and baseball. And I'll talk to you in your office
Okay.
sometime. That's the so we actually went forward with the designs on two parcels.
Okay.
70, it was 75,000 each. The CPC put in one 75,000, and the town put in the 75,000 for the other one. And that was what we were talking about, the Shepherd parcel, which was going to be 2 multi-use lacrosse fields, and then town barn, where the baseball fields were going to be.
Right.
What I was talking about earlier that required the language change in the deed. The deed read open space and conservation.
I have the deed.
Okay, and council's advice was you need to get the conservation out and just read open space, because that includes active recreation. So we wanted a deed clarification, and it fell through. Parties didn't want to because they were looking at the cost down the road. So that lost by a handful of votes. So Lynn had to go back and just design, so we lost basically the design of 75,000 on those fields because it got voted down. So then they went back to town barn, and then they were going to try to make town barn be both multi-use and recreation. So I think at one time, the numbers have changed a lot, but I want to say 10, 15 years ago, Lynn did come forward with exactly how many people she was servicing at the time, how many fields they needed,
Right.
all of that. But now that's outdated, and we still.
Yeah,
That
but
was
I
built
don't.
a field.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
right, and
this,
then we went, last year, town barn, because of the cost of the ledge.
Right.
Town barn got voted down. So we were we were further along in this process on 2 parcels, and we basically lost 150,000, the design for both of them, because town meeting voted it down. And town meeting at the time, people reached out to me, because I've always been like very vocal about
Advocate?
I've been an advocate, and they said, well, why can't rec come forward? Why do they need fields on Shepherd and Town Barn? Why don't they phase it and do it like one at a time, and then maybe the townspeople could afford it? And that's why I personally was dragging my feet on a feasibility study that had 4 fields and a dog park. I love it, but I also wanted something on 60 to just, for those naysayers, they would at least maybe vote for 60. Maybe they're right, maybe they'll vote for the whole package, but recreation's been told a lot of different things. When they go for it all, they're told to go one at a time, and when they try to go one at a time, you're like, why don't we do it all? So it's a little bit frustrating, I think.
Sure. Thank you.
okay, so where are we?
That's a good question.
Well, did we decide that 60 Cedar Rec is going to be 1, right? Did we all agree on that one? Well, I thought so, I wrote number 1. We changed it to Article 41. Article 42 would be the joint proposal for 70.
This one first. So this one? This one.
Is that what we said?
42 was,
59 and do it once.
42 was 70 Cedar Street Rec and new senior center.
Yeah. And then number
Dating it right now.
3
Changing the order.
Was 41.
Yeah, 41 is now 43.
Yeah, that's senior center alone, right? The building,
Senior center existing site.
yeah.
43. There's 44 gets cut out.
Okay.
I have what is the difference between 44 and 45, other than about $40,000?
Now, I had that question too.
The only reason 45 is put forward is because 46 is there.
No, in
46 what?
44, where, are you asking the 11,000 for 44?
Yeah, what's the
I think
difference?
that's a mistake when you do the joint proposal. If rec only was looking in 60 and 70 at once, it would be 11,300 more to look at 70 while they're out there doing the work for 60. So I know Barbara was talking to me, she wanted to help me ask the engineers, so when we go to look at 70 only, why is it going to be another 50,000 when?
Yeah, right.
When it's
you do it both at
11,000.
once, it's only
That-
11.
right. You do
So we
both
were
for 11?
talking about checking into that and seeing if we can get a lower number for looking at 70 only.
It should be 11.
Sure.
But, well, they argue that all the site,
Their equipment is.
yeah.
So why is 45, so, wait a minute, okay, back up 1 second. So 60 by itself is 49,000, 70, according to Article 44, by itself is 11,000?
It would be 11,000 to look at 70 while they were out there doing the work for 60 if it was all one
Does it not
project.
make sense to combine them both and forget the 51,000 to separate? That's $100,000 that you don't need to spend. I mean.
But then if the combined proposal for the senior project goes through, we have no plans for 60.
That means 60 does not continue to be separate. It would become part of
But
the
this is
senior
ridiculous
center
money
project.
going out the window. This is and I don't mean it to you, but
Right,
this
yeah.
$51,000 going out the window when you could get the same thing done for 11,000. That doesn't make sense to me.
It's just a study. No one's saying we have to build on it.
Right. You can still phase your projects. You can still present your projects as phasing, but at least, I think your
Unless
argument.
someone could lead us into a direction that would protect 60, I
Yeah,
don't
we
feel like
can't
our
combine
committee
them.
does not feel comfortable doing that because we've come short so many times when people say, oh, it will pass, it will pass. So,
Yeah, but I think you can, your
Well-
argument your argument is, right, what's happening right here.
Yeah.
Your argument is, by doing 60 and 70, we can do both for
Saving the town.
$60,000.
Yeah.
If we separate them, it's 49,000 for 60 and 50,000 for 70, which is ridiculous to spend that kind of money. So we're combining them, and we have a phased plan of approach. So now you have come across as financially reasonable and meeting the needs of those who want it phased.
If the joint proposal, if we combined 60 and 70 rec only, and then the joint proposal for 70 only went through, we'd have to wait, come back to town meeting in the fall to get funds to develop 60 only. And that's our problem. And with 60
Right.
being my priority, and it looks like we can get it in a year or two, that's why
Well,
we need to separate
We're-
it.
That's
how about
money
this?
out
How
the
about this,
window.
Ann? We're putting 60 first.
Yeah, but they don't
So-
they want 60 and 70 together, not looking at 60 by itself. That's, so
But that's the only way to
I think the
protect
senior
it.
center needs to.
Yeah.
The only
But
way to
so I
protect.
understand what you two are saying. I understand it through and through, except when you look, if
'Cause
the
our
joint
plan was
proposal
then
goes
to go
through,
back
we have nothing
at our
on the
next
table.
available meeting to move forward with 60, getting it going. If
I
we
get it.
combine the two, that means we have to wait.
Yeah, can I, just let me offer, yeah, I think you need to protect 60. It's as simple as that. I think, what if, but I understand Chase's, I understand what Chase is saying in terms of people are going to look and tally it all up and say we're spending $250,000 in feasibility studies. So we leave 60 alone. 60 was never part of this whole joint proposal with the seniors. You wanted 60 anyway. And 60 is a response to last year, people saying, why can't they do it one at a time? So what if you did 60? And this is different from the way I viewed it before. I'm just throwing this idea out. And then you only did the joint proposal on 60 and 70. I guess we could do that, too. The thing with that is, the joint proposal falls through, you've got no feasibility study for 70. I know, that's not good either.
And we also can't submit
Right.
if the senior center is looking to do their own project on 70, that's the only reason why we're submitting the third article
Right.
too. So if our joint
what I
didn't
mean.
go
It's really,
through,
it's really,
in the off chance.
they threw in that wrinkle. That's what created 2 more feasibility studies. It was never,
Yeah.
it was
I
never
don't-
that
I
way.
don't
It
think
was
the committee
only
would have agreed.
At one point, it was only 3 feasibility studies. You on 60, the seniors where they are, and then a combined one on 70.
Yeah.
It's only of late that they want 70 all to themselves, so it gave
Well, they wanted it before.
Okay, so, but that's what prompted REC to say, well, if you're going with just 70, then we'll go with just 70. And that's what created the 2 more. Maybe we should drop,
Well, that's why I guess I'm really
Drop the
interested in
seniors.
skipping over that one and talking about 45 and 46. Are you in support of putting forward a senior center only project? Because we're not interested in, we don't necessarily need to go forward with our article if that's not being.
Well,
I'm
the
fine.
thing,
Not for 70, I'm not.
well,
It's
I
only
mean,
articles. There's
but see,
just-
that's the
It's too much, I agree.
Yeah, but that's the idea of a feasibility study, to find out what you can do, how much you can do it for, where you can do it. That's all covered. They did the same thing when they did Burgess, you know, do you renovate, put an addition, or can we build someplace else? Because don't forget, we had land at one time in back of the fields where they were gonna build the new school. That's what you do, you compare.
I agree. Can
But
I ask
people
a
aren't
question
gonna spend
about?
that kind of money for studies. That's a lot of money. It's over 200,000 for studies.
Can
Not
I
gonna
just
fly.
ask, when it was gonna be joint,
Go by the-
if you know, what dissuaded, maybe Mary knows this better, what dissuaded the seniors from wanting to do a joint on 70 with a community center and 1 field? What dissuaded them to want only the senior center?
Based off the meeting that
No,
I attended, they were just told by the town administrator for the past several months that they should be submitting their own for 70, while we were told by town administrator
Not
at the
to submit
time
our
that we
own.
shouldn't be submitting our own for 70. So I think that both parties were misguided. I don't know if there's a further reasoning than that, but from both meetings, and especially the one that we had on Ted's last day, they asked him for advice, and that's what he's very strongly told them to do.
Yeah, see, the seniors always wanted to study 70,
Right, without making it a combined project.
because they never even knew rec had any interest in it.
Okay.
It was only when they found out the rec had interest that, well, maybe we could do something together.
So the best thing is let town meeting decide what their priorities are with the studies. But,
You know what you can do? You can have a substitute motion ready, but it'll be too late.
Oh, no,
What I'm thinking is, and maybe it'll be too late, if we do 60 and we pass 60 and 70 together doesn't pass,
It's
then,
not on 70?
then they can do, okay, then the Cedar Street for 70 would pass on its, then they could add, that's Article 44 for the 11,000. And still get it in for 11,000. If Article, I'm hoping I'm saying this right. If Article 41, which is 60 Cedar, passes, but Article 42 for the together does not pass, I think this is where your intention was, that Article 44 allows you to bring that forward, and then you really wouldn't need 45.
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm
What if
saying?
someone looked ahead, though, and they saw Article
Art-
44 listed as 11 to view 70 only, and they chose to vote down 60, and then 2 articles later, vote in support of 70?
That's
you
why
gotta
you
talk.
put them together, that's why you have to speak, and you have to really speak to the points.
No, I guess I'm just here
Moderator doesn't
asking
let
them,
rec.
yeah, I'm asking this board to decide if you feel as if we should have Article 45 and Article 46 on top of the joint proposal. Is that something that this board is willing to support? Because
I
I guess
I personally think 45 should not be on there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think 44 should be on there, though, because, and I think it needs to be made clear to the residents. I think, truthfully, I think that going back to the original here, Article 42 should pass, Article 43 should pass, and Article 44 should pass.
The old numbering, yeah.
Nothing else. You know,
If you could, yeah, I'm sorry.
you have rec only, then you have a joint rec and senior, and then you have the $11,000 for rec on both. I think those three should go, but we gotta make it clear to everybody.
Right, so are these going to be available on the?
Yeah, they're gonna be. They're gonna be
Well,
online.
It's not here, but.
They'll be
I
online.
feel like we're doing them a disservice by not allowing them to have 70 only too. I mean, if.
They
Yeah,
do,
no, I
they
mean,
do
they
have
vote-
70 only.
Well,
They have a
Well,
feasibility.
no, not
No,
at the
that's
Chase.
what I-
no.
Oh, you're taking
I
it
mean, I'll
out.
be honest with you, what
Chase
I
wanted to
support,
eliminate
what
that.
I support
Yeah.
is if it's going to, with 70 contingents to 60, I personally, it would take a lot of convincing for me to make it only a senior center when it's bordering recreation land. What I was supporting perhaps was a joint venture where you got one field and there was a community center. I'm very disinclined ultimately to support a senior only there. But as Mary said, these are feasibilities where you're trying to, compare apples.
Get the best deal.
I just worry that people will look ahead and say,
Yes,
oh,
you're
look,
right.
there's one for just a senior center alone. We don't need to support a joint when we want to have a senior center there.
But-
That's where I'm coming from. I think it's a little confusing to the average.
Then we could take, right.
Very
So-
confusing.
So, then both would have, then.
So then I'm
then
just
both come
asking
out.
I'm just asking this board to consider possibly going forward with the combined. That's the proposal that our committee was intended on from the beginning. We never intended on each of us putting a warrant article on this warrant with both of these numbers. We only intended on going with a joint proposal. And that's what I
Meaning-
guess I'm asking.
That
Meaning
was-
with
that
the
was-
senior center, when you
Yeah,
say
a
joint,
propo-
are you
a
saying
proposal
60?
with the senior center. We were never intending to go forward on 70 or rec only on this warrant. We're only intending on doing the joint. The only reason that Article 45 is here is
Because the
because
seniors put it there.
Article 46 is here. So I guess that's why I'm sitting here tonight, is because I would like clarification from this board if that's what we're
Yeah, what if?
supporting.
Yeah, what if,
We
let me
don't
just.
need all the articles.
We have I understand what you're coming, I was very surprised. I thought 70 was only joint.
Right,
I didn't,
that's-
that's the ringer that I wasn't aware of. That's why I said it created two more feasibility studies. I thought there was only going to be 3. The existing senior center, 60, and a combined effort on 70. That's what I thought we were facing. What if we were to put that forward at town meeting, and if that joint proposal gets voted down, then both the seniors and the rec, we can have a special town meeting where they both just get 70 for rec
Yeah,
and 70.
That's what I asked about on Monday, because another concern of mine too was the seniors, the center could easily be told it's time to move based off what the feasibility study shows, but it also, they could be told to stay where they're at, so when it's two parties are at such different points,
Right.
to me, it did make the most sense to seniors request to get the additional funds to finish their study. We look at 60, we do our joint project for 70, and then if that falls through, the seniors then have time to finish their feasibility study, and we can both approach, if there is a special town meeting, and either, I
Right.
guess, I don't know if oppose one another for 70 would be the right words or not, but then the study would be done. Rec wouldn't be trying to steal it out from one another or anything
Right.
like that.
I mean,
because it's
this
not-
way here, we
it's
get a
not
sense-
care.
We get a sense if the community supports everybody sharing 70, and if that got voted down, then both can go back for 70.
But we lose the
But
50 grand.
you're gonna spend another $50,000 for what, which is ridiculous, when you can do them both for $60,000. If 70 gets voted down for joint, then, and you come back in the spring or in the fall, it's another $50,000 that you don't have to spend now. And
We need to I'm sorry,
It's
we need to
okay.
incorporate that 11,000 somehow, somewhere. That's all, it just.
Well,
for
the only way you
scale.
can incorporate it is if you do a study on both 60 and 70 at the same time. If you do them separately, you're gonna be paying 60.
$50,000.
Okay, so here's the thing, I understand, he's looking at it from the money, which makes sense. We do 60 and 70 together, okay? And then we do the feasibility study for the senior center, and then we have a joint. You didn't lose 70 because we wouldn't entertain either having 70 on your own. We would basically have three. We'd have 60,000 for 60 and 70, and you do your 60. You do your Cedar Street, 60 Cedar Street first, and you explain it would be a phase-in. We do an existing feasibility study for where the senior center is right now. And we put the joint proposal forward, which was all of you doing both. And if the joint proposal falls through, then nobody's on 70 right now. We have a feasibility for 70 combined. I don't know. I mean, I just feel it's a little risky. Rec is willing to take that risk of combining 60 and 70 together in one feasibility study?
I think
I
Rec
would like
has been
to-
adamantly against.
Huh?
I think Rec has been adamantly against combining them when there's so much on the table. Because again, it's our only chance of a field in the next several years.
Yep.
Never mind
But
the
I
needs that
totally
it
am
addresses
in
there.
agreement that as a taxpayer here and a townsperson, that it's a lot. This is a lot to look at, and I want to bring forth the best project, and I don't know if having all these articles is really the best either for that. It's a little confusing. And now the availability for somebody to hold off on voting yes for the combined proposal when there's a possibility to do a feasibility just for senior center alone, when that's never been talked about between the two groups, just doesn't seem,
Fair.
yeah, it doesn't seem appropriate. It seems like, it seems like that we should just eliminate those two. That's what I think, but
Right, that's what I just said, the
Yeah.
joint one.
keep the joint one and get rid of the individuals, yeah.
What if you just what if you just didn't work with the senior center on that piece? You put your guys 60, 70, rec only, and we don't want to do the joint study with the senior center. It's just rec's going to be rec.
Up until this exact second, most everyone else has strongly suggested that rec should not do that, because that rec would lose going up
I don't
against the
think so.
senior.
I think rec will lose because of that other project coming up, because what I think happens is, one thing people keep complaining about is, if you remember a few years ago, the town voted to renovate this building and across the street and all these other things, and they had Burgess at the same time. And people were saying, my God, everything at one time. Well, the people voted it. And I think they have now, from what I hear from people, is they become a little gun shy. And are like, what, you're gonna build a new safety complex, we're gonna do fields, we're gonna do that, where are you people gonna stop? And it, without understanding that it comes from the town meeting. I think the feasibility study with the senior center will hurt you more than on your own. That's just what I'm thinking. Because they see the senior center as a multi-million-dollar project. So if we're looking at 3 million for, let's say, fields, let's just go there for a moment as a hypothetical number, and you're looking for 15 million, now you're connected to that 15 million.
And that's why.
That's why
we need
60
to
was
isolate
alone.
60.
That's
That's
why
why
I was so
60
worried
alone.
about 60 alone, because that exact reason. We did not want to be connected with some very large number project that required sewer and water and,
And that's what you're risking by, well, we're getting redundant. That's
Yeah.
what you're risking by
Well, the
combining it.
thing is, it has to pass the hurdle of the FinCom too. Now, that's gonna be a hurdle, because the FinCom for past 3 years has been advocating that there should be a study done on the prioritization of what should be done. Senior center, safety complex, DPW. There was a study that the subcommittee of the master plan had done 7 years ago approximately, and they examined every building, and at that time, they had the DPW number 1, the safety complex number 2, and the senior center number 3. The only reason it's gotten to this stage is because of the advocacy of the seniors. I mean, they did surveys and everything, and they pushed and they came, and it's kind of by default that they all of a sudden seem to be number one on the studies. So it's going to be a hurdle. And also, we don't have any dollar amounts. I mean, and, you know, between the budget and the warrant articles, you know, our levy limit,
What are we at, 80, what did she say, something?
89,000.
9,000 that
Let me ask
Saturday.
this, you probably have the most experience, so I'll ask you. How long does a feasibility study take? For, where the existing senior center is, how long does that take?
It depends. If we're going to be able to use the same person who's no longer with that firm to do it,
Well, they haven't done any, I'm
Aren't
talking,
they getting money to finish their study, though? Isn't it
They
already
have
been
some
underway?
money, they have some money ready to go, and they're just looking to get a little more. money to
right,
finish.
they, because there was money,
I thought the study
Yeah,
was
it's
money
already
to-
planned.
are we
we're
talking,
trying,
wait a minute,
we're
wait,
trying
time
to
out.
look at a bunch of things at once, you know, what if, go ahead, I'm sorry, Jeff.
So you were asking about
How long?
the senior center, right? You're
Yes.
asking about that.
Yep.
Again, that architect is no longer with that firm.
Okay, I'm
So
just
if
saying
we-
in general.
In general, it
3
sh-
month
no, on this, something like this should take 3 months.
That's why I said 3 months.
Yeah, it should be a relatively quick
I mean,
thing.
so the other thing is, you know, maybe we're just trying to look at too much at once. We get 60, and we do a feasibility study for the existing, where the seniors are right now, and if it comes back in 3 months that that's still an ideal location, and they can put a one-floor addition on and satisfy parking, then we're not even looking at 70 for the seniors. Maybe we should do one feasibility study at a time. You know,
We discussed that at our meeting, but that's not up to us.
right.
I apologize, but I have to get my daughter from dance, so.
So let me just
I'll let
understand your
Annie-
perspective. Do you,
My
do you want to, do you want to have a feasibility study on 60 alone?
Yes.
Or are you
I
leaning?
do, and I would like,
Okay.
I would like the committee to consider pulling Article 45 and 46, which is to do a feasibility study of 70 by itself. I think it's a lot of money and it's confusing. There's
Okay,
too many.
but so you're not, so when Chase suggested
I-
60 and 70 combined, is
Ideally, I'd love to see that the town only spent 11,000 additional dollars to study 70, because I feel like it would satisfy Rex needs, but we worked with the senior center study committee together, so I feel like that would be undermining, and I don't want to do that.
you think it would be bad faith?
Yeah,
Okay.
as I've been kind of the spokesperson for my department, for my committee with the senior center study committee, and we agreed on
A joint,
a joint. We
Right.
never agreed on
separate.
separate, so I feel like that's where we should stay, from our
That's
perspective.
personally where I was leaning
yeah, see,
as
the
well.
seniors agreed on separate.
Right.
Right, but they never brought that
Yeah,
forward,
and we had
so
a
I-
meeting directly
following.
with Ken
I had a
before
meeting with
joint
Ken
meeting.
a few
One-on-one
weeks ago,
with a
just him.
note-taker.
Yeah,
What does
him.
Ken one-on-one say?
When,
He
so
never said- he
verified
told-
with us, so Ted wants us to submit our separate article for 70 alone. We don't need to do that now, right? And I said, no, because that would be pretty insulting to Rec, because Rec's working with you. We're not doing.
That's what I thought. I
70.
thought you were doing one
yeah,
together.
so we
on
had
And
a
we
meeting
had
with-
someone taking notes, and that was what we decided on, so I'm
to make
just-
sure we were on the same page, because there had been confusion with the middleman. And so before we were going to do a joint meeting, that's why we met with myself, Erin, Ken, who's chair, and then the note
See,
taker.
to me,
But
that
we
makes
verified
sense.
several times.
I'm agreeing with, we put 3 forward. If the joint proposal goes south, then at a special town meeting,
We ask-
Recreation and the senior center can submit their own idea of what they want on 70. We go to the town with one joint proposal. And to me, that's not undermining anybody, and you're getting 60 by itself. I don't know.
Jason?
But we can't worry about rec undermining the seniors or the seniors undermining rec. We gotta worry about the people at home that are the taxpayers that could get a $60,000 study on both parcels. It has nothing to do with hurting anybody's feelings. I just feel that should be an option.
Well,
It's not necessarily about hurting someone's feelings, it's about pinning, I feel, one group against another group, which it
which
doesn't.
always
te-
happens,
which-
though, Aaron.
Which the senior center group has a lot stronger following, and I feel like it would look, not just be feelings, but not be appropriate for
But
one
that
group.
bridge will be crossed after the feasibility studies.
If it passes.
If it passes.
If it passes, if people say,
And
we'll
we
vote
thought-
for 60 and 70 together. if that passes, and if it doesn't pass, then rec just lost 60.
But then why are we taking 44 out? That's what I'm confused at.
Yeah.
Is
44
44
shouldn't be-
11,000? Let the people vote.
Yeah.
11,044.
I
We
agree.
weren't taking it out.
Yeah, I have an X on it.
It's supposedly
been
trying to
submitted
take
as a-
45 out.
Yeah,
40
I feel like
So
that
we
was an
initially
It should
said
have been-
taking it
it's
out.
not- You're not going to get that study for that price. You're
Annie
only
will
going to get
speak on
that
that.
study for that
I'll call
price
you after.
if it's combined with 60.
These are the ones that he needs.
To the
be able
people.
do that?
Yeah.
That's, it's a wording
Is,
thing.
is there a way, if I may? Now, these go to the Board of Finance, right?
Yeah.
And they ultimately put them on,
They make the motion.
and that'll be over the next week or two. So is there a way you can just pass out everything and gives us a few days to figure this out and then go to Board of Finance with something that maybe we can coalesce around?
I think that makes sense.
I
That's-
like the order that, yeah, I mean, because if the joint study gets bypassed, you know, the joint on 70, people say, no, we're not gonna have like a 15, we're not doing that. Then if the 11,000's further on, that's still up for grabs. And we've done that before. We say if this passes, we pass over the following article, you know,
Well, that was the idea of putting the joint
Joint
proposal
first.
first.
but not before 60. 60 has to go first.
But they did when you guys
Yes, the
just
way
updated
Mary
the
just
numbers.
redid it
Yeah.
was appropriate.
I'm just worried about if 44 were to stay in after explaining the language that the 11,000 isn't its own proposal and that's totally dependent on 41 passing. Because the 11,000 is just a number taken from a proposal. It's not its own
Proposal.
Right.
proposal, yeah.
It is very, yeah.
Because when I looked at it, I thought it was a mistake. Then I understand why it's in.
Yeah.
I would just,
Yeah, people might say, let's pass the one for 11 and not pass the one
Yeah,
for
'cause
49.
We have to make it
And-
clear.
and-
There's gotta be a way, though, that we can do this.
Yeah. Why don't-
we did have our meeting with the finance liaison, and so he has had a general overview, and finance will too. When we left the meeting, he was in the same, all the general confusion, and I had said I will update you after the Board of Selectmen because we'll hear what their weigh-in is. So I think that finance obviously is going to have a lot of healthy discussion on it, but I did say that I would follow up.
I would have three. I would have 60, I would have the existing feasibility study for the seniors where they are, and I'd have a joint one. That's it.
Madam Chair? I think that the town administrator had a good idea to bringing it to the finance committee and having them possibly word it in a way that might work better. I liked his idea.
And we can get the numbers
Yes.
fleshed out and.
Yeah, well, we do.
I like the idea.
Yeah, indeed. But you do have the order that we,
So you,
To
there
a
will
point.
be, let me just clarify, there will be a joint 60, 70 rec and senior somewhere in the mix,
yeah,
right?
not 60, 70,
70.
70.
70 only.
70 senior, 70 and senior.
Wait a minute, time out. So you're going to have one joint proposal, rec and senior, on 70 alone?
Yeah,
Okay. And then you're going to have 60, 70 rec,
60 rec.
60
they
rec
want
only.
60 only.
Financially speaking, it makes the most sense to combine them, but we can't combine them.
Why?
Yeah, that's my argument.
Because people will
The joint
vote it,
proposal
because,
goes through.
because there's gonna be people sitting there that are gonna vote it down because they either want the joint proposal on 70, or they want it seniors only. And when you bootstrap it that way,
Okay, I get it, I get it.
60's going down from a voting perspective, not a money perspective, from a voting perspective, because they're gonna say, oh, I'm here to vote for the joint proposal on 70.
Okay, I get
Or
it.
I'm here to vote for senior center only on 70. How come rec combined it? We'd help rec out on 60, but not both. So that, you, from a voting perspective, you're at risk.
Okay, so the first one's going to be
Not
joint,
money, but voting.
joint on 70, rec on 70, and then senior existing location. And we're
So
not,
it would be rec only on 60.
60.
on 60, rec
Yeah.
only on 60.
And then after that, you have the
Joint.
joint proposal.
So,
And then
wait a
the
minute, rec-
feasibility
rec-
for
wait a minute,
senior
time out,
only.
time out. Rec, joint rec joint on 70 is going to be first.
No.
No, rec
Okay,
on 60
rec on 60 is first.
first,
Okay,
and then both on 70,
joint on 70.
yeah. And then third is senior center existing.
Senior.
What happens to 70 by itself? After, let me,
Yeah, if you do 60 rec, what do you do with 70?
if that doesn't
Back to
pass,
it, I mean-
right,
So that's why they're both structured after the joint proposal. Both articles would be withdrawn if the joint proposal went through. If not, then they have to vote on one and then the other. And that gets very confusing because the way it's structured, rec has the benefit of going first. The way it's structured, someone's gonna look below and see senior centers competing for the same area, and people probably won't even vote for either, just out of confusion. But if the joint proposal were to go through, the separate proposals for 70 would be withdrawn at that time.
okay.
So I've got 3, rec on 60,
Yeah,
joint on 70,
yeah.
existing location for senior. Those are the 3 we want to put on the,
So we're removing 44, from what I'm hearing, we're removing the feasibility for 70 Cedar Street
so we're not even
recreation?
going to talk 70 unless it's joint.
That would be up to the selectmen to decide if they think that's an appropriate project for the
Bottom line
spot.
is
we
it's either
could-
3 or there's 5.
Yeah, but we could still put,
3 or there's 5.
we could still put separate senior on 70 in case the joint doesn't go.
So you want that number 4.
So then we wouldn't withdraw our separate 70. That's why we have it. It's,
If it-
it's a rec
If
area.
it passes, we'll withdraw.
This is worse than the
That's why,
UN.
what-
And the
Let me
access
tell you.
point, I
why
mean-
don't
Oh,
we
my
just
goodness.
prioritize and say,
What shape's
we're
the
only
table?
putting one thing before the voters on 70, a joint proposal for both of them. And this business of having 3, rec and seniors sharing it, just seniors, just rec, it's like, if the joint falls apart, then down the road, they can, both committees can vie for 70. Because honestly, 5 proposals is basically what we're talking about right now. 60, existing senior center, joint, seniors only, rec only on 70. That's what we're looking at, and it's 5 feasibility studies, it's too many.
I just think we're doing a disservice of
Yeah,
taking the
I do too.
$11,000 one out
I agree.
from the money standpoint. I agree with you 100%, it's way too many at 5.
I agree.
But to take that 11,000 out is just doing a
It's a
disservice.
loss, it's a loss to rec committee, because they're gonna then come back in the fall for 50,000.
And then it's gonna look
How are we
crazy.
gonna justify that to the
No, we're not.
community?
No, we're not.
No?
I wouldn't bring that back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, I agree,
And
I
we-
agree, I agree.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, we want 60 alone to protect it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going against
Right.
that by saying, no, I just think it's a disservice to take the 11.
I know, I fully understand what you're saying, and again, big reason why I've been actually waiting, very much looking forward to come here and talk about this, because we're between a rock and a hard place. Every time you
Yeah.
think you find a solution, there's an issue. I mean, honestly, the rec committee threw me a huge curveball by supporting the joint proposal. I never thought that that was something that they would want to do, especially when looking at the amenities that we could have on 70. So I've been more than happy to work with them to go forward with it. I just think that the selectmen need to make a decision on what they see for like a final vision down there.
And personally, for me, the rec area is the rec. That's my personal opinion.
Well, if that's the case, then you could still support 60 by itself, and then 60 and 70 joint.
Right,
Because
oh, that's what I'm gonna do, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I see your point, Chase, but
It's a
if
voting
it
thing.
ever gets to town meeting, it'll be up to town meeting voters, because, I mean, there'll be others that, feel the senior center building just needs to be renovated and added on. It's,
Yeah, well, everybody wants everything.
that's
But
right.
can we
We also
still
weren't
keep,
looking at a one-floor location for the joint proposal. Unless that could be something that was updated, but the joint proposal's still 2
Can-
floors. I don't know if that really changes
Can-
anything.
can
on
we
the-
still keep 70, with that 11,000? If, this is where I'm a little lost. Can we still, we got 60, we got the joint, can we still keep that 70 for them for 11,000?
Well, problem is, you're not gonna get anything for that 11,000 unless it's with the
Unless
Well, that's what I'm saying, if 60 passes,
Oh,
if 60 passes,
Right.
and the joint doesn't, can we still keep that 70 for 11,000?
But you know, even if the joint were to pass, we wouldn't want to do that 11?
No, because if it's joint, it won't matter.
Right, 'cause
that's
you're
the
gonna do it
point.
anyway.
So the people who are going there to vote for the joint,
Yeah.
Joint's not gonna pass.
if they pass the joint proposal, then Rec's out of 60, because they didn't get a feasibility study for just 60. They only got a feasibility study for 70.
But
No, they're gonna pass 60, we're talking
60's
about
first,
passing.
though.
60's first.
So it goes 60, we pass, say 60 passes,
Passes.
Rex all set. Then it goes to the joint. Whatever happens with the joint happens. Then, at the end, you have 44 for $11,000 to do the 60 and 70. 60's protected, the joint's already gone through.
Well, 60's only protected if people vote yes.
We need-
You're-
Vote yes on 60.
I know, Chase, but there's going to be people there by combining it
Yeah.
that may vote it down
Yeah.
because it includes 70, and they don't want rec only on 70. They want
That's
a
not what he
joint
said, though, right?
proposal.
That's not what he's
No,
saying.
that's not. No, I'm
So
talking
you're
about-
saying to remove 45, but leave 44, 46, if we can get the wording correct
Right. we're
on
gonna just-
44?
I'm just talking about fixing the wording on 44. After 60's already, after 60's all set, 60's the first to go through, whatever happens, happens. Then we have the joint one. But then I just think we're doing a disservice taking that $11,000 off next.
So what FinCom would be told is if the joint passes, that 11,000 goes away. You don't do a feasibility study. The joint just passed.
Right.
So that other, you would pass over it. You'd only consider the 11 if the joint didn't pass.
Why though? And I'm just
Yeah.
confused because the joint, okay, we're gonna do the joint study, but then for $11,000, we get a study.
But the
saying-
joint
Case
includes
also-
60 and 70.
Includes it.
For rec alone?
I have a good point to make that might really clarify what you're
No, the-
asking. If the joint
Joint's
proposal
only on
went
70.
through
Yeah.
and we looked at 70 for both parties, we are going to be provided with 3 conceptual plans for 70 for both parties, and that'll be most likely one field parking building. For only $1,500 more, I already verified what a 4th conceptual plan would be to look at rec amenities only once that study's done. How it goes from this high number down to 1,500 for a 4th conceptual plan blows my mind, but I have it in writing from the engineer. When the committee last met and they made the motion to remove 60 altogether from the joint proposal, our second stipulation was a 4th conceptual plan that shows rec only, and in the wording it was in case the senior centers are instructed to stay where they are, so we don't have to go back to town meeting. So senior centers also were given, those were our only 2 stipulations for the change of the proposal, remove 60 and add the 4th conceptual plan.
That's-
Does that answer what you're asking?
That changes like
Right.
2 hours of
I
arguing.
know, it's $1,500.
Now, Annie, do you have a conceptual plan for building on 70?
Rec wouldn't be.
No, I know, but
Putting
you
one.
said something about 2 stories.
Yeah, the proposal itself, again, why we needed an updated one, his numbers are all over the place, 200
Yeah.
parking spots, but
Yeah.
senior center had only asked for 60. The building was, over 1,000 square feet larger than they had requested. But what had just confused me, and if you give me a second, I can double check it, sorry, where are my proposals, was field won't fit at all if they do a 1 floor in the senior center. When we did the really loose designs with planning, it was nothing more than us sitting at our desks and trying to make it as accurate as we can. The Legion field only fits if you do a 2-story, but let me check the wording. It would be in the second proposal.
proposal?
3807.
Okay.
But then I had a follow-up email from him, from the engineer, and that's what clarified.
3807?
Yeah.
Yeah, February
That's senior,
18th.
that's rec and senior, 60 and 70 combined.
Yeah, so I'm
That's the
just
full
trying to
meal deal.
clarify what they were looking for the building on that. Because it was actually Jean in planning who brought it to my attention when I asked her to review the proposals. Yeah, 200 parking spaces, proposed buildings, baseball field. So it's just not verified anywhere that it would be 1 floor. So in the plans that we have where it fits, it would be 2 floors.
Oh, okay, because I don't know if the seniors know that.
Right.
And again, something that, when we would do the final
Their
proposal.
impetus to move
I
is
know.
to
The
get
one
them
floor.
a single-floor building.
Building.
Yeah, but that wasn't ever mentioned to the engineers when I was there. It's not reflected in the
Okay, so the-
proposal. So looking out for senior center too, before we waste a bunch of time.
Okay, so
It's not
maybe,
reflected.
okay, I'm gonna send another ringer in. If the engineers say, if they can even just say right now, okay, even before we go to town meeting, if you're looking for a joint on 70, the only way to do that is a multi-story building, and the seniors aren't interested in that, and I understand why, that's why they're trying to get away from where they are, then you just forget that whole joint proposal.
Yeah.
And you look at it as a senior center, single floor, or recreation, and we just abandon this idea of sharing. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, do they know that it would be multi-floors?
To the best
There's
of my
just,
knowledge,
there's
no.
nowhere that clarifies
I would
that
say
it
no.
wouldn't.
No.
Okay, so if the engineers should be able to at least tell us that. And that would eliminate an entire feasibility study. We wouldn't even be looking at the joint. We'd be looking at it going to only rec, only the senior center, and that's it.
And you could have 60 and 70 for rec.
Or it's 60 for rec and 70 for the single-floor senior center. It's up to the people. But, I mean, the only reason we were entertaining the joint is we thought the seniors wanted it, and rec was okay with it. But if they know it's multi-floor, I guess they just need to be asked, do you even want to move forward with
Well,
that?
there's just nothing that says they're requesting a one floor. So it could be something that's updated. We could go back in and look. I don't know how it would possibly fit. The 70 is a very small parcel.
Right, so I would think that an engineer
But yeah, it's just
should
not
be able to
clarified.
just look.
And I had asked
Honestly,
Pete for
with
a
the-
very thorough response, and this is just an email going over the
You're-
proposal.
If I may, you're saying 70 is a small area because of topography.
It's 14 acres total minus the wetlands, so we have
So
about
what's the
7 to
buildable?
8.
7 to 8 acres.
Yep.
Right.
So I
That's
just,
pretty big.
A Legion size takes 4, 2 acres for, how did he break it down? 1.75 acres in parking, 1 acre for building. The Legion size takes 4, that doesn't include road, parks, road, dog park, any amenities.
but the engineer should
And that's
be-
in the best
The
world.
engineer should
1
be
acre
able
for
to
building?
just say,
That's
it's going to
multi-story.
require a multi-floor senior center.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yep. And the
Without
senior
doing
center
the
might
fee-
have already told them that that's the original purpose, but that hasn't been communicated on their end, CME's end with us at all. It's not reflected in the proposal.
It was communicated when we had, I can't think of the girl's name that came
Ashley.
in. Please?
Probably Ashley, the facilities.
Oh, no, from CME.
Oh, okay.
Lynn. It was definitely conveyed to her. I mean, they
Yeah.
were quite vocal about, we need one floor.
Yeah, and if they can't provide it, then we just abandoned that whole joint idea.
Yeah, because you quoted 1 acre for building. I mean, you
Yeah,
can only
that's what
fit
he
a
has marked.
multi-story building on 1 acre.
That's what I was thinking. So why are we even going that route? Because I'm not gonna, to support a brand-new building that's not single floor, which is what they're after, what are we gaining?
You can't achieve your goal.
Right, what are we gaining from where we are right now?
Well, why don't we kind of just straighten out what these articles are and,
Well, do we know what we're?
doing?
I still go back to my premise, give us a few days to work this out.
Yeah.
We'll take it up
Yes.
with
Yeah,
finance.
because
I
we
agree.
can,
Because we'll visit
I
now,
agree.
we'll circle back with the seniors
Yeah.
and say,
Do you even want a joint if?
do you want to joint even though you can't eat your single-floor building?
I did send Ken an email about tonight, but I never
Right.
heard back. But I had asked Danny, I don't know if he said they were going on vacation this week or something.
Because if
but-
the
He
answer's
normally
no,
emails me back really quick too, and I didn't hear back.
if the answer's no,
And we'll pull it.
Well, at the very least, if I may, you're going to keep on the warrant the article that looks at the existing site of the senior. I mean, that's going to be
Yes.
on there.
That's how it all
No matter
started.
what,
That's how it,
right?
right.
Right,
And no matter what, you're going to do something on
60.
60.
right,
So the question is, what else?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
So if the seniors don't want multifamily, we'll pull the joint.
Yeah, and if they do, and it's something that can work and we go forward with, we just would need to make sure that's in the proposal so we don't run into a hiccup down the road. But that was a good point to make. If it only says 1 acre, I don't think the engineers picked up that it needs to be one
No,
floor.
because how much space is in our existing area where they are right now?
0.78 is the entire property.
0.78?
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
gaining 0.22.
They need to add 5,000 square feet.
Well, they want to.
Well, that's what the needs analysis said.
Well, but the needs analysis was the result of a lot of pushing by
Of course.
some of the seniors. I mean,
You know, that's,
some of those things aren't absolutely necessary in my mind.
One last quick question, just to clarify for
Yeah.
me. If the joint were to pass, there's a $1,500 option to do another plan that would be the same as the $11,000 option.
Yes, based off of the wording, he said to add a fourth conceptual plan.
So now, I don't want to talk for you, but now Chase is okay with doing 60 alone.
Right, because we have a $1,500 option.
Adding a fourth conceptual plan exclusively for recreation is not a problem. It would add about 1,500 to our proposal. Not sure how you will eventually cost share the work. Let me know if this needs to be a separate line item.
So if that, does Barbara Barry know that?
So we should add that right in right
Yes,
now.
because I forwarded her all of it in, but we haven't had to have
I mean,
this aha moment.
Because
I
then,
still go back
then
to
we
where-
don't
give
need a
us a few days.
feasibility
Yeah,
study.
okay.
We don't need hold on.
2 hours
We don't need a separate feasibility study for 70 only at 51,000, because we can add it for 1,500 onto the joint.
Yeah, price-wise, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
but it's-
1,500
Well-
is a reserve fund I mean.
Jeff.
we've got to
Jeff had
get
the best
CM,
idea.
we've got to
He
get
does,
CME in a room
does.
and bang this out with them on what they can
He has
offer
the
and what
best
the
idea.
price is
I
going to be.
agree.
But
We can wait, because we can already, we
Yeah.
can
But we
open the
would-
warrant
You're
up
not going to
until.
settle anything here tonight.
No.
And but Annie, what are
So
you?
this would allow us, so the fourth conceptual plan was in, and the senior center already voted on this, they were fine with us looking at a fourth conceptual plan, and we would only be utilizing that if they were told to not stay where they are.
And it's-
We wouldn't use it against them. They voted on that, they approved that. So we would be able to remove 44 and 45. My only concern then is if 46 is still standing, it looks as though there's an option to vote down 43 and approve 46. Or we updated it to 42, if that makes sense. Like if you looked ahead, you would still be able to see the chance of doing 70 Cedar Street Senior Center only.
Right.
So just a concern that I have.
Yeah.
But
Well, we can-
but that's okay, as long as for $1,500, we can look at rec only.
And that is something that I would probably really like the town administrator's help clarifying that.
We got to get CME in a room.
Right.
And go through this
Because we just say the 51,000.
in a couple
For rec-
days.
Couple of days we'll have it.
That was it.
We can meet it.
Now, can we move on? Can we move on?
I know. Jeopardy's on in
Give
20
that
minutes.
material, though, to Jeff to hold them to it, because I'm shocked that they can do another plan for 1,500. I mean.
Yeah, these are just what the conceptual plans are when you get the visual layouts, but when they're gonna have everything that
They've got all the
At the
information. All they're
time,
going to do
yeah.
is take a computer model and say, plop this
Yep.
field here.
Yeah, So it seems like we got to start with them to get their numbers down.
Right.
Okay, Annie.
Any other questions while I'm here?
Your things are here.
Do you guys want to, I can also email it out too.
Yeah.
I do think it's an email.
But, yeah,
And
let's clean this
also,
up.
and that joint
Looking for a
could
vision.
go away very quickly if it's going to be a multi-story building.
And the seniors don't want it.
I've
They don't
shown
want
this
it,
to
then
the
that's
committee
gone,
before, I
too.
think this is the plans for
I mean,
60.
I'd
And
be
then
amazed
the
that we
second
can't
page
find
just
them
outlines
another
what
site
70
somewhere for a
is.
single
So
story
60's
building.
below 70.
Not on town land. They looked at
But
all.
you still want me to do the Shepherd thing, right? That opened up.
This
Yeah,
is
but
60,
that's
this is
rec.
70 with 60 below it.
I know,
Okay.
That's what she said.
it's big.
Yeah. But that was, they went through assessors and everything, got a
And the thing,
list of all
Annie, with
the
leaving
town-owned
60
land
alone,
and
too,
stuff.
we're probably talking about like 1 or 2 million. And
Yeah, and the
You know,
only
it-
reason the price would be so high is because we would do turf, but again, finance last year made it very clear that they would only support turf and only having one multipurpose field. But I think even though that's going to be the most expensive part of the project, we would have eyes rolled if it wasn't turf.
Right, but what I'm saying is it just makes sense to leave it alone, because you're talking 1 or 2 million, or maybe 3, versus this combined thing that could be
Yeah.
10 or 15
Well,
million.
I shouldn't say anything about numbers, but when we're looking at, so Town Barn was 6.8, with quite a bit of it being ledge, and it also
million.
had way more to it. I'm hoping that the numbers for one field and I think 25 parking spots comes in significantly lower than that.
It will.
Like 2 million or something.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get it
I
clarified.
think that's the best move. I agree.
Yeah, because it is, as I told Jeff at the elections, convoluted.
Yeah, because, let me just sort of say one more thing. It's
I have
possible,
one more thing I want to say, but I don't know if I
it's
should bring it up.
possible that the one feasibility study is one warrant article that says rec only and seniors only on that. It's the same one, because the add-on is only $1,500. You see what I mean? So that could almost be one feasibility study.
So if
Rec
we
only
did-
and seniors only, because whatever the add-on, it sounds like it would only be an extra
So
$1,500.
couldn't we ask in the proposal of the joint to end up with 5 conceptual plans and not
Can
3,
we-
the first 3?
Can
Work
we
with CME
Yes.
and get
Yeah.
this worked out.
Yes,
Because we're
that's
not
it.
going to
We're
solve
not gonna
anything here
solve-
this
Point
evening.
that you just made.
You got it.
We're not,
Because I honestly think you ought to put turf fields at the elementary school and replace those with turf so you don't have to leave them fallow.
but that's the
elementary doesn't
schools,
I understand, and that's a
Yeah.
long-term partnership project we may want to work.
yeah.
That solves some immediate need. Anyway,
Okay, we are up to Article 12, road construction.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Annie.
Thanks.
See if
In
the
case anyone's looking for follow-up questions, I have a small procedure tomorrow. I won't be back in until Tuesday. Just so you know, I won't.
so Tuesday, I'm going to try to set up a CME.
Yep, because Monday's the holiday.
holiday.
But wide availability next week.
Yeah, it's a
Sooner the
holiday,
better.
I will be
Sooner the
there.
better.
it's a holiday you haven't had, have you?
Thank you.
Bye, Annie.
That's the day after Thanksgiving forever.
Oh, here we go
Let's
again.
not go there. My Gingy. Okay, road
right.
construction,
Moving
repairs
on.
and maintenance. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $458,000 to the road construction, to the road construction repairs and maintenance account in order to fund the road construction repairs and maintenance of town roads as determined by the DPW director or take any action relative thereto.
Move to place and support.
Second.
I just have one question. Do we usually say what roads, or do we leave it like open-ended like that? I'm just,
Oh, it's always open.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Because we do
don't know.
have, no, we have the
Road study.
road study that was done by CMRCP that they're working off. We used to, years ago, get a yearly report on what road conditions were.
But we haven't had
No.
that in a long time.
No, Central Mass Regional Planning did a whole study on it, so they're working off that. It was a 5-year plan. Okay. All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 13, Public Access Department, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund the sum of $109,766 for the expenses of public access as follows: salary, wages, $75,616, longevity, $150, employee benefits, $24,000, operating expenses, $5,000, capital, $5,000, for a total of $109,766. How many employees do we have in that department? We have Bruce and Steve. And then they
there's
pay the
part-timers.
hourly
Yeah.
camera people.
I
Isn't,
have a, okay.
oh, I just,
I have a question after you.
yeah, isn't 24,000 a lot for employee benefits on wages of 75,000?
If that's a full employee health plan plus pension, we can check that number.
Yeah, could you please? I mean, I'm not against it because it comes from a fee paid by the rest of us.
The
Priscilla?
longevity, I don't recall this before, and I was gonna raise it when we got to the budget, but where did this come from?
It came from when they went to the steps. So what was that? 2018?
So that was last year's budget for us. I didn't remember seeing it
no.
separated last year.
We're in 2019 budget, so it was in the
So last year's.
2018.
But I just don't remember seeing longevity like that last year.
Oh, I don't have my book from the,
I have it at home, I don't have it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I left it on the table, said I won't need it. No, I know, that's, yeah. Okay, is there a motion to place and support?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, but that does come from the surcharge on each cable bill the town gets. But if you could get that,
Yep,
You know,
made a
it
note
just
for
sounds-
both the 24,000 and the longevity.
yeah. Article 14, Sturbridge Tourist Association, to see if the town will transfer and appropriate from the hotel motel special account to the Sturbridge Tourist Association account the sum of $183,290, broken down as community support, $40,359, marketing and advertising, $109,974, salary wages, $19,223, employee benefits, $13,734, for that total of $183,290.
Motion to place and support?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 15, Betterment Committee, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate from the hotel motel special account to the Betterment account the sum of $183,290 for the following items: flower barrels, $2,200; plantings, the Bloom Committee, $450; beautification, Joshua Hyde Library, $3,800; wayfinding, streetscape improvements, $15,978; beautification at Town Hall and Center Office Building, $2,500; tree planting, Arbor Day program, $1,775; town offices and library decorations, $5,000; lawn tractor with mower head, $3,200; sidewalk maintenance, $20,000; tree maintenance townwide, $9,500; town common tree maintenance, $6,992; Main Street tree and park maintenance, street landscape, $2,000. I wonder what they mean by park. But we do, you have that little park near the mill yard, because we don't really have parks. This one I had a question on, because I know it's both places, but it doesn't stipulate which special event overtime the 10,000 is, and then 2 down is special event overtime. I know one's police and one's
Usually,
fire.
just based on when I used to be on this committee, I know you're the rep now, but the police always was more money than the
yeah.
fire.
Yeah,
So that's how I think.
Well, that's what I wrote in, and
Yeah.
it really should be written in.
What should be written in? Chief Grasso was at Board of Finance last night, and he answered questions. It's about all the special events.
No, but just
Oh, yeah,
specify.
yeah, but it's specifying who's getting the overtime.
The police
It
or
should be
fire.
police for 10,000, and it should be fire for the overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that question, and it's,
So the 6,100, I think, is the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
They typically.
yeah,
is.
it's usually that
Okay,
way.
so
They're not as well paid. Public safety drone, 15,500. Booking camera, 4,700. Structural firefighting, cancer prevention hoods, 2,500. Protective wildland firefighting equipment, 14,500. Cedar Lake Town Beach water treatment, 1,795. Town Common Summer Concert Series, 4,000. Decorations for Town Common, 3,550. Slack Great Ponds Weed and Safety Programs, 6,000. Funding for special events in the community, 5,000. Chain link fencing at Town Softball Field, 4,950. hydro raking at Cedar Lake Swimming Area, $6,100. Backstop canopy at softball field, $3,650. Trail construction and maintenance supplies, materials, $1,500. RTV mounted flail mower, $5,300. Logging trailer, $1,250, for the total of $183,290. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to support, place and support.
Second.
Okay, any questions?
I just have a little, because it's fresh in my mind, I am going to support this here, but I just wanted to touch back on an idea that I had brought up at our retreat, and we said maybe down the line, we'd look at it, to maybe meet with the Betterment Committee and perhaps kind of think out of the box a little bit in terms of like one big project one year that we use the funds for, rather than, like, what we traditionally do, Jeff, is this like everyone's Christmas wish list, and they separate it between recreation, beautification, and safety. And then everybody, we expend the entire amount on all these little things. And I just wondered if we could all agree on one big thing, then we could take that 180,000 and one year put it towards that. Or at a minimum, if we could have like a capital fund within the betterment funds, so that a percentage every year goes to like long-term betterment rather than like all these individual things. So, if we came up with, okay, 20% every year of the 183,000, roughly 36,000 gets like put away, and then we have an opportunity to do something bigger. Because it seems like this is a lot of money, and every year some of these things could be in the budget, our regular budget, but it ends up here. And I just want to try to find a more creative way to use our betterment funds. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do that every year because we need some of these things, but it's just a thought. And I know at one time, we did have a savings account when we wanted to pay for the new signage. And we looked into the fact that you can put some money aside. But that's just something, it's not going to happen this year. But I would like to, at a minimum, save some of this so that like we're building up for a bigger project, like that bridge that the Open Space Committee suggested we have by the Riverlands or that type of thing.
Makes sense.
And maybe like a business would step up and do flower barrels for $2,200 instead, or that kind of thing. So
They tried that once.
no, I know, but it just, I would just like to see if we could. And then I just have one other question. What is wildland firefighting equipment for 14.5?
That's
It's-
grass fires in the woods.
It's
Oh, okay.
lightweight,
Yeah.
fire retardant clothing.
Oh, okay.
So rather than your regular bunker gear that's very heavy, this is just a basic fire retardant shell.
And we don't have that right now for our firefighters. Okay,
Either we don't have it or it's outdated. I don't know the difference.
okay.
I don't know.
And just because I don't know what this is, what's an RTV mounted flail mower?
Is that the
That's
one
what,
for the
what's his name?
trails?
That's where Jackson talked about the other day, isn't that, when he was here that Saturday? Isn't that the one where it adjusts to size?
I wasn't here Saturday, but is it the one that they said can be used on trails for the grass along the trails?
Yeah,
what I
Yeah.
thought.
yeah. And is that the one I think that
Yeah.
adjusts to or something like, it had
So
some
was this
special
a
use?
Trails Committee request, or was this DPW?
I
Because
think
I
it-
thought that was the lawn tractor with mower deck.
This is, the last two are trails, because the
Right,
logging
so that's-
trailer.
Okay, and I think what
Radial
Butch
turn.
was talking about was something to be able to do the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's
because
different,
That's, yeah.
because
That's
of
different.
poles.
What's that?
The top two on the same
That,
page.
okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought, the lawn tractor
Yeah.
with mower deck.
And-
Yay, Chase, I'm glad we have like a, I don't know how to say it, somebody that knows about construction stuff. Okay.
Be careful.
Yeah, yeah. No, because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I have no idea, this is so out of my element, this stuff.
Okay, so we have motion and second, all in favor? Okay, 4-0. Okay, Article 16, capital improvement plan, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash and appropriate a sum of $395,557 to the capital improvement account for the purpose of funding the following items, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto from the capital improvement plan to be undertaken for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019. $26,900 fire department, voice amplifying devices, 26. Library furnishes for main floor renovation, $25,482. Public safety complex, replace apparatus, overhead doors and openers, $74,500. Fire thermal imaging cameras, $16,800. Facilities senior center fire alarm panel replacement, $4,600. Facilities installation of fire alarm monitoring at the nursery school, $5,650. Public safety complex repair resurface apparatus floor, $95,000. Facilities town hall fire suppression updates, $6,550. Facilities center office building fire suppression updates, $6,350. Fire tactical intrinsically safe flashlights, 25 of them, $4,725. Public safety complex, replace entrance and trim, $7,400. DPW, facilities, library mid-level storage weatherization, $7,000. DPW mid dump truck, $77,000. Police Smith & Wesson simulation guns, $7,600. DPW utility tractor and attachments, $30,000, for a total of $395,557. Okay, is there a motion?
Place and support?
Second.
I just have-
Questions?
So it seems like, we did the needs assessment. We're already starting in our capital improvement plan to address some of the public safety areas that need to be renovated. It's not like we've totally put them off, because it comes to almost 200,000, right? So I'm just making that observation that we are moving ahead, doing something for public safety.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
It's a DPW that's,
Right. Good.
Always
I
love.
thought the apparatus overhead doors and openers for 75, roughly. What did we do a few years ago for the doors? I thought we already spent maybe 5 years ago a significant amount of money on doors.
On the Sally Port for the
yeah.
PD side of the building,
yeah. These are the ones out
the
back.
fire building.
Oh,
This is
oh.
the fire side.
Okay, because we did do the other side a few
Yeah, the
years
Sally
ago.
Port, it's got
Okay.
that strange-looking door now.
Okay,
Didn't have before.
all right, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, Article
17,
yes, it threw me off.
sorry.
No, only because we were looking at the 40s before.
Yeah.
Okay, ambulance stabilization fund, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $60,000 to the ambulance stabilization fund for the purpose of reserving funds for the future purpose of an ambulance, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 18, fire vehicle stabilization fund, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to the fire vehicle stabilization fund for the purpose of reserving funds for the future purpose of major fire apparatus, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to place and support.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? We will get the box, we will get the to be determined on the approximate balance? Okay. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 19, OPEB Trust Fund, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 and transfer from free cash the sum of $500,000 to the other post-employment benefits liability trust fund account, or take any action relative thereto.
I have a comment. I'm all about paying OPEB, that's an important thing. We were looking at the free cash, so we certified at the beginning of the year $4,738,000. We looked at all the warrant articles for the special and the annual town meeting, without any of the feasibility studies for the senior center or anything else, we dropped to 2.5. So I'd like to lower this. I talked to Barbara a little bit this afternoon. I'd probably lower the free cash transfer to this to maybe 200,000. 5's aggressive, but probably lower that number.
Okay, how's the board feel?
Agreed. I agree with the town
Yeah, I mean,
administrator.
some towns are barely funding their,
Some aren't funding at all.
Yeah, and
Right,
I don't know what, and I've not had a chance to look at the valuation of the liability, but I think, the rating agencies always look very positively when you're funding OPEB, and just to put something in it is
Right.
positive.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm not against a big, a transfer from free cash, but 500 is a little aggressive, depending, looking at how we're spending free cash at this point.
Right,
May I ask, what would you recommend?
200,
50,000.
200?
200, 250, wherever the board's comfortable, but 500 is
I'd go,
that's a big swipe.
I'll make a motion for 200, to drop to 200,000.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Is
you.
there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
no, I just have a question, but I'm going to vote for it, so I'll wait. I just have a question that's related to
Oh,
what you
okay,
just said.
okay, all in favor of the 200?
So we certified 4.738,
Right.
and if everything goes through excluding the feasibility studies, we were down to 2.5?
2.5.
Okay, so
Oh, I thought
with your change,
We're at
we were down,
2.8.
okay, so the 2.5 was at 500,000, now we're going to be at 2.8 with your change.
2.8 minus whatever we work out with CME on the feasibility studies. Now, that does not include anything that we either generated in excess revenue this year or didn't fully expend in appropriations at the end of this year. So the number will be higher, but just looking at it as a snapshot today of what we're drawing down, it's a big number.
Okay, but you said that's without the feasibility
Yeah,
numbers.
without
That's without the
Yeah.
feasibility studies,
Okay.
but that's
So it'd be
100
even
grand
lower.
one way
Yeah.
or the other. Right. So,
Okay. Who seconded?
Chase.
Okay. Okay, and do we vote?
We voted on dropping it to 200,000.
Okay, now
Made the
we can vote on the entire
Article,
article.
right.
Place and support.
Place and support, yes.
Okay, Chase, you seconding it?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Article 20, tax rate relief, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Assessors to use, excuse me, the amount of a sum of $350,000 from free cash to lower the tax rate for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2019, or take any action relative thereto.
Make a motion to place and support.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 21, Capital Stabilization Fund, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $170,000 to the Capital Stabilization Fund, or take any action relative thereto.
What have we been traditionally putting in? Was it 170 last year?
I know,
Is it in the budget book?
I'm just curious if it went up, down, or stayed the same.
In the back.
should have brought the...
I know,
I know.
170 just doesn't ring a bell
I
to
said,
me.
I won't need it.
I know.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different book.
You don't have to look right now, I just,
Could you grab it?
I can go grab it.
It's in the annual report.
You can also grab the annual report, it would be an article.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And it's got the index for the articles.
Or we could just wait for the next text from Barbara.
She's supposed to be taking care of herself.
It is. But,
She's sick.
Yeah, she didn't come in today.
She shouldn't be watching them.
So much easier to watch it at home.
Yeah.
Things you can say.
To the TV.
things you can't, you get frustrated, you can't say, ah.
She's very diligent.
Okay. Where is it?
Well, it should have a table of contents in the front of the, nope. Oh, this is this sheet. Oh, no, that's right.
Nice.
I'm not looking at that. Oh, okay, say, no, it only lists the table of contents in the FinCom book.
We don't have to
Okay.
know
I'll
right
find
now.
out.
No, I know,
I
which,
just want to know if it went up, down, or stayed the same.
Won't this have it from us here?
yeah, but I thought it would be, I thought they would have the,
Or the warrant article?
table of the warrant articles, but that's in the FinCom book we get. So we have to go through and see which one.
What is it, capital stabilization?
I'll look if you want to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capital stable, I found it.
Oh, okay.
Capital stabilization was 163.
Okay.
7,000 more, yeah. Okay. So, Priscilla, you,
Yes, place and support.
okay. Chase?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Article 22, revaluation interim adjustments to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $40,000 to the revaluation interim adjustment account or take any action relative thereto. Motion?
Place and support.
Okay, Priscilla, second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I have a comment on the prior one. Barbara said the capital item we just voted on is a % of the total budget. That's probably why it went up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, it's 0.5% of the general fund operating budget. It's always rhyme.
It's in the text box.
Okay, Article 23, revolving fund, spending limits, fiscal '20. To see if the town will vote pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 43E and a half, to set the FY '20 spending limits for certain revolving funds as follows. That's really strange. E and a half? Usually a half is a number.
Be a typo, I'll look into it.
Yeah. Okay, revolving fund, recreation, 30,000, hazmat cleanup, 20,000, Board of Health, 20,000, Board of Health pay-as-you-throw program, 20,000, senior center, 10,000, planning department, 10,000, public lands, 20,000, Sturbridge Tourist Association, 20,000, CPR, 5,000, sorry, house numbering, 5,000, or take any action relative thereto.
It looks like these all stay the same. It doesn't look, was anybody's revolving fund increased? I don't think so.
Well, that's,
Or,
well, you have to read the box, it changed last year. It was amended in 2016 by the Municipal Modernization Act,
okay.
eliminated the caps on the amount that could be spent from the revolving funds. At the special town meeting in February 26, 2018, the revolving fund bylaw was adopted per the Municipal Modernization Act. However, town meeting must continue to vote annually on or before July 1st on the amount that may be spent from each fund during the upcoming year.
It is E and a half. It was E and it was last year, the same thing. E and 1/2, same thing.
How'd you miss that last year, Priscilla?
I don't know, I didn't pick it up this year either.
Well, I didn't when I read through, but reading out loud. Okay, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 24, General Code Codification Services, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $15,614 from free cash for codification services for the zoning bylaws and general bylaws, or take any action relative thereto.
What, can I ask what that's about?
Jeff?
You take your local laws and your bylaws and your planning, and you actually put them in a legal document format where they're cross-referenced, where they're indexed, where they're updated, where they're cataloged. And you put them online. E-code Publishers has them online. And if you change a bylaw, you send it to them and they update the whole document. And annually, they'll send you printed copies of the whole thing. It's in a book.
Okay.
Type thing. It's a very, it's necessary, unless you have someone in-house that can keep up on it.
Right.
It can get out of hand really quick if you're updating bylaws.
Yeah, right.
Routinely.
Changing.
That's good, and it's online also, I like,
Yeah.
that's a great thing, okay,
And it
Yeah.
can be refreshed online quickly.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put
Yeah, 'cause-
motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, because you can run into trouble waiting for the
big
printed
time.
copy.
Big time.
Well, yeah, when we did the historic preservation of buildings, we had changed it from 6 months to a year, and it didn't get written right away, and we caught a little short. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Article 25, Personnel Classification Plan, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $20,000, to perform a personnel classification plan study for non-union employees of the town, or take any action in relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Okay, any discussion?
I just have a question. How did we arrive at the 20,000? Is that a guesstimate on what it will cost?
I think Ted got a number from a town that had just gone through it,
Okay.
and very similar work.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 26, Water Department, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate through the fixing and collection of just and equitable prices and rates set by the Board of Selectmen, acting as water commissioners, a sum of $1,388,963 for the expenses at the Water Department, or take any action thereto. Contract operations, $681,612. Electricity, $80,000. Chemicals, testing, and propane, $10,000. DPW director, $13,221. Meter maintenance, $10,000. Billing expense, $4,900. Debt service, $446,230. Miscellaneous, $48,200. Capital replacement, $65,000. Reserve fund, $30,000, for a total of $1,388,963.
I just have a question.
Mary?
I probably should know this answer, but I don't. How come this isn't in the regular budget for the water department, these expenses?
This is
This
the
is
regular
the
budget for the
budget.
water department.
For the Water Department.
Oh, okay, it is, even though it's in a warrant article?
It always is.
Oh, it is? It's not just in here usually?
The utilities are separate from the general fund.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just thought I remembered reading it in our budget as opposed to being a warrant article for it.
Oh, no.
It's probably in the budget book, but it's not
Right.
considered, it's a separate enterprise fund, so it's not
Okay.
part of the general fund.
Okay, it's not, okay.
It's a special enterprise.
It's in last year's, it's in last
Yeah,
year's.
it's always been.
Okay,
this
I
way.
just,
The utilities are always separate.
okay.
It's actually less than last year's.
Okay, is there a motion to place and support?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, Article 27, Sewer Department, to see if the town, people will be happy to know, even before they get to town meeting,
Right.
that this budget is not going to increase the rates for the
Right. Water and sewer.
water users. Sewer Department, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate through fixing and collection of just and equitable prices and rates set by the Board of Selectmen, acting as sewer commissioners, a sum of $2,438,977, and by transferring the sum of $85,000 from the sewer reserve fund balance for a total of $2,523,977. Okay, contract operations, $883,339, electricity, $210, chemicals, testing, and diesel, $30,000, DPW director, $13,221, billing expense, $4,900, debt service, $850,517, Southbridge fees, $200,000, liquid sludge handling, $200,000, miscellaneous, $52,000, capital replacement, $50,000, reserve fund, $30,000. Again, the total is $2,523,977. Okay, is there a motion?
To place and support.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, and again, this will not cause any rate increase in sewer fees. Okay, Article 28, sewer project debt. See if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $248,663 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments to the Phase 2 sewer debt account, such and such a number, $232,225 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments to the Phase 3 sewer debt account, numbered such and such, $118,246 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments to the Cedar Lake sewer debt account, $147,275 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments to the Big Alum sewer debt account, $56,275 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments to the Woodside Westwood sewer debt service for the purpose of paying debt service due on these sewer projects for fiscal '20, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Just place and support.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Did you work hard today? Any discussion?
Haven't eaten either.
A lot of good restaurants on the way home. All in favor?
It'll be closed by the time we get out.
Yeah, I know. Would have been quick if,
Yeah.
okay. Just in the box on that one, the second line up, the line begins repaid through betterment assessments from the property owners within the specific sewer, should be area after that, because owners aren't in the sewer. They're in the sewer area. And I did have a correction, just typo on the, one of those articles we spent too much time talking about. I'll send it to you later.
Very silly tonight.
I always am. And well, I didn't work, so I'm not tired. It just should be 2. It was going from 60 to 70.
Okay.
But I'll let you know. Okay. Article 29, water and sewer rate study. To see if the town will vote to transfer from the water reserve fund balance a sum of $13,000 and from the sewer reserve fund balance a sum of $13,000 to perform a water and sewer rate study for the users of the town's system or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
Am I correct that
Discussion?
this is our attempt to see if we want to separate with a different meter for just
Yeah,
water?
whatever, you know, or
Okay.
even the rates and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some
Okay.
irrigation use and those kind of things.
Yeah, look at them, yeah. All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 30, fluoride saturator system for water treatment plants, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the water reserve fund balance a sum of $20,000 to convert to a fluoride saturation system for the water treatment plants, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
So the sponsor is the water department? Is it Viola? Who's-
Well, we have to go back and get all the sponsors listed. Yeah.
But I'm just, most likely.
Oh, yeah, because Greg mentioned it one of his last times in. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 31, decommission well number 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the water reserve fund balance the sum of $7,000 to decommission well 2, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, we will have a good explanation in the box.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I assume it's the well that's in danger of infiltration.
Text boxes here.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Okay, Article 32, upgrade of Fiskill Pump Station, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Water Reserve Fund balance the sum of $850,000 to upgrade the Fiskill Pump Station, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Okay, I know the FinCom had a question on the McGilpin Road water line. Were you at that meeting?
Maybe.
Well, I don't know who was there, but it's a slow process. There's still, we haven't had an update from DEP in quite a while, and I do know they are waiting on federal response on money too, so.
I was going to bring that up,
Yeah.
but we don't have new and old business tonight, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'll wait until the next meeting.
Article 33, betterment payoffs dissolving of betterment, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $25,500 from the fund balance reserved for sewer betterments for the purpose of paying fees of the Registry of Deeds, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, Article 44, poll time change, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Sturbridge's General Bylaws, Section 1.03, to change the time polls open from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m., or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 35, establish Commission on Disability, to see if the town will vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, to establish a Commission on Disability, or take any action in relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
I just have a question. Where is
Okay.
this coming from? We don't, who put this forward?
This was a discussion we had when Leon
Some
was here.
mentioned, yeah.
You're right, and it was a long time ago, and we had talked about, you have to officially establish a commission on disability.
Yeah.
And it was brought up, and we said the next town meeting.
Yeah.
I would say Leon was here. If I
Oh, yeah.
recall correctly, Leon was here.
He was here and you brought it up.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
There's a letter in the folder on that.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
From the
that
state.
that explanation satisfies me.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Article 36, proposed amendment to zoning map, to see if the town will vote to rezone the property on 7 Cedar Street, parcel number 202-02446-007, from suburban residential to commercial tourist district, with the intent to extend the commercial tourist district so that the entirely
So
That's, should be a different word.
Entirely, should be entirety.
Yeah. Of the properties known as 420 Main Street, parcel 41502435420, and 7 Cedar Street, parcel 202-02446007, are zoned commercial tourist district, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, Article 37, 226 Cedar Street, affordable housing. To see if the town will vote to authorize the town administrator to convey the parcel of land located at 226 Cedar Street containing 1.33 acres, more or less, and acquired by the town through judgment and tax title case recorded with the Worcester South District Registry of Deeds in Book 46183, page 207, for affordable housing purposes, such terms and conditions, and for such consideration, which may be nominal consideration as the town administrator deems appropriate, and to accept an affordable housing restriction on said property, or take any other action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 38, establish municipal affordable housing trust fund. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 55C, establishing a trust to be known as the Municipal Affording House Trust Fund. It's rather a long sentence. You could end it there with a period, and then delete the word "for," and then the next part just says, "The purpose of the trust is to provide for the creation and preservation of affordable housing in municipalities for the benefit of low and moderate income households, and for the funding of community housing as defined in and in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44B, or take any action relative thereto." If you don't break it up, it's a pretty long sentence.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Article 39. See if the town will vote a sum of money and request that the Board of Selectmen allocate a sum of money previously appropriated for reimbursement under Mass General Law, Chapter 90, for the functional design and preliminary submission to Mass DOT and the CMNPO for improvements to Route 20 from Streeter Beach, to New Boston Road, or take any action relative thereto. Now, apparently, Mike put this one into, did he give it to you people?
Yeah.
See, it would have been the week that I
Yeah, it had
was,
to be.
because I didn't see them.
But I don't know if you were here or not, but it wasn't given to us at the Saturday meeting. It was given to us at one of our
Yeah,
meetings
no,
on
I
our
was
own.
in Florida.
No, I know, I get it, yeah.
What is the purpose of this?
Well, I personally am not going to support this now. I think it should go through the process, and the ball is in the hands of the planning department. Mike apparently went and got, I don't know if he got a design or something from an engineering firm. He's apparently advocating for 4 lanes of traffic in the commercial tourist.
4 lanes that are going to go, meaning commercial tourist goes as far as, doesn't it
Like
go to
Cedar Street to
148?
148.
Right, so
2 lanes on each side.
2 lanes on each side, that's going to crunch right down to 1 lane at the light?
No, my understanding is he wants
Correct.
2 lanes and 2
2
lanes.
lanes and
Oh,
2
yeah,
lanes.
come this
But if
way.
you're at 148, at the light at 148,
Then you
headed
go.
to Brimfield, boom, you're down to 1 lane.
Yeah, 2 lanes would be going that way, down to 1. The
Yeah,
other 2 come
right.
this way.
Well, I think,
But I do know they already did a study on the commercial tourist district,
Yeah, it was,
And
yeah.
that wasn't
No, that wasn't part of it.
part of
No,
it.
I remember, because, yeah, I do remember that. There's no money allotted to this either, so I would put this on hold.
Well, personally, I would like to place it and give Mike the courtesy of allowing him to explain his article. Because I have a few questions, but I think it's probably best if he answers it himself.
Well,
I mean, because
Those
we've placed other articles, and we're not supporting it yet. We're simply
yeah,
giving him.
but well, we have two ideas, so
I'll just make a motion to place Article 29, I'm sorry,
39.
Article 39.
Second.
any discussion? Okay. Not in favor.
Me either.
I think it ought to go through the process, and I know that Jean is meeting with the DPW director, and I believe she's meeting with Michael next week to get this all straightened out.
Oh, no, that would be great, but in the meanwhile, rather than
Yeah.
just pulling it, he's not here, and we have the time, if time was of the essence, but it isn't, so.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Okay, the motion fails on a 2-2 vote. Okay, Article 40, additional parking at the senior center. See if the town will vote to blank a sum of money to provide approximately 12 additional parking spaces at the senior center, or take any action relative thereto. Priscilla?
I mean, they do need parking, that's a given, but if we appropriate a sum of money to put in parking, and then they end up, let's say it ends up renovating that building, and they have to dig where we have put the parking spaces, to me, that's money wasted. And that's my only rationale to this. If we weren't looking at renovating the senior center, then by all means, find a way to do this. But because you're gonna renovate, possibly renovate, we don't know yet, I think that, to me, I won't support this now because it's wasted money. I'd rather give the money to their study, I'd rather give their money to whatever renovations or construction they're gonna do, than give them $10,000 or whatever amount it may come to, and then dig it up again.
All right. Mary?
I asked that specific question of Mike when he gave us this particular warrant article. I said, would these parking spaces in any way be affected by the renovation of where the senior center is right now? And he said, no, it's a separate parcel of land. So it's not going to affect it. And personally, I think that it's a short-term solution because the renovation could take years if it goes forward at all. And if it's not going to adversely impact, why not? Why don't we look into additional space? I mean, the Glonics already came forward and we were amenable to a parking garage. And I asked him, I said, well, could these, if, let's just say the senior center goes to 70 Cedar Street. Well, now we have on town-owned land an additional 12 parking spots in a prime location for businesses and retail and everybody else to use. So, as far as, the money, this is a short-term solution, and if we can get a parking lot with 12 additional parking spots, even if the seniors don't need it, I think that we should look into it. Was it last year or the year before, we voted a considerable amount of money, but we needed to do it to put new windows in the existing senior center. And we knew at that point in time that we were already had a study to see if we were going to renovate. And the same argument came up, like, well, why are we putting money into it? Because we needed the windows. So I really at least think we should place this one and allow Mike to explain exactly where the area is and to answer the concern of Priscilla. Because I did ask that very question, and he said it's not going to be affected by where it is now.
I'm not doubting Mike, but I don't know what he's basing that on.
Right, that's why, let's let him
It's to be
explain.
surveyed. I mean, I've got the conceptual and you must have it, of a renovation and addition. And for him to be able to say it wouldn't affect the parking,
Nobody knows.
it's surprising. Jason?
I disagree with this one just because of the fact that I think we need to wait and see what happens with the feasibility study of that senior center and what can happen where. If this is the parcel that we don't even own that is being in question, the neighbor that we don't know if there's a wetland on it or.
Right.
Oh, I was under the impression that we don't own this land?
I think it's the neighbor.
It's a neighbor.
Yeah.
It's behind,
I
yeah.
do know that when, from the senior center study committee, that the land in back is owned by somebody
Yes,
else.
and they were
I
looking to
thought he
purchase
indicated it was town-owned. Well,
And I don't know if I mentioned to you, Jeff, I think we ought to, move on the Galonics proposal.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, and that's a definite price, whether we buy it with the house on it or pay a little extra and they'll even
oh, I don't disagree
demolish
with
it.
that.
Yeah, so, so somebody can make a motion if they
Well, I'm
want.
not going to make it because it seems like it's not going to pass, so. I'm not
Well, I
gonna-
make a motion that we not place nor support.
Okay. we
Eliminate.
Withdraw.
Withdraw, there you go. Withdraw Article 40.
Second.
Okay. Priscilla, Chase, all in favor? 3-1. Okay, let's skip over these others.
The feasibility study for the senior center, we're skipping that one too?
Yeah,
43?
just until everything gets all.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so we're up to Article 47.
Well, study.
We better have some answers after all these studies, it's all.
Article 47, borrowing authorization, Tantasco Regional School District. To see if the town will approve the $2 million borrowing authorized by the Tantasco Regional School District for the purpose of paying costs of replacing doors and windows in the Tantasco Regional Junior High School at 320 Brookfield Road, Fistale, Mass. I'm surprised they have that ancient abbreviation for Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You don't find it on anything but old maps.
I know.
Everything's two capital letters, capital M, capital A, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, which proposed repair project will materially extend the useful life of the school and preserve an asset that otherwise is capable of supporting the required educational program and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, said amount to be expended at the direction of the Tantasco Regional School District's Building Committee. The MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project cost the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received by the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district and its member municipalities. Any grant that the district may receive from the SBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 1/55 63/100% of the amount determined by the MSBA. Any premium, project costs, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA. Any premium received by the district upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to project costs in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed for the project for the project, is that twice? To borrow for the project.
Yeah, for the, yeah.
It's written twice.
Yeah.
So get rid of the last "for the project." By a like amount or take any action relative thereto.
This is the, when I went to the budget hearing, and I gave that report after, this is what that is, that this is to preserve the middle school.
Yeah.
And at this cost, with a 55.63% reimbursement, it'll be minimal to the towns, and it'll be over a longer period of time. I'll make a motion to place and support.
Okay, I have a question, Priscilla.
Yeah.
In it, it says, in the middle, may be expended at the direction of the Tantasco Regional School District Building Committee. Do they have one?
Not that I'm aware of, no. No. Not, they didn't disclose this. When I was at the budget meeting, this money was heading to them. And it was for the windows and the doors, because they're putting in, I think they've got the funding to change the HVAC system, but they're waiting to put in the doors, and the windows rather, so that you can proportion the HVAC, the vents in the classroom, if you will, to the appropriate size. And they didn't want to do that first and then put the windows in, which was their concern. No, they did not say they had a regional school district building committee. Doesn't mean they don't, but they didn't say that.
Can we just find out if they do? Because I know they had one when they built the high school 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't recall that they had it. This is to prevent, from what it was explained to me, this was to prevent and to extend the life of the building by doing these things, cost-effective,
Yeah.
fuel-efficient, and the like.
Yeah. And they do say they can, still give the educational program that's needed. Okay,
Yes.
any more discussion? All in favor?
There's probably some security elements to that, too.
They are doing that,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, Article 28, Public Marijuana Consumption Bylaw. To see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaws to prohibit the public consumption of marijuana or marijuana products by adding a new Chapter 8, Section 8.7, that would provide as follows. 8.7 is the public consumption or use of marijuana. 8.71 definitions. The following definition shall apply to this bylaw. Marijuana shall be marijuana as defined in general law, Chapter 94C, Paragraph 1, as may be amended. Marijuana products shall mean products that have been manufactured and contain marijuana or an extract from marijuana, including concentrated forms of marijuana and products composed of marijuana and other ingredients that are intended for use or consumption, including edible products, beverages, topical products, ointments, oils, and tinctures as defined in general law, Chapter 94G, Paragraph 1, as may be amended. 8.72, public consumption prohibition. No person shall smoke, burn, vaporize, ingest, or otherwise use or consume marijuana or marijuana products while in or upon any public place, including but not limited to any public way or any way to which the public has a right of access, sidewalk, footway, passageway, stairway, bridge, park, playground, recreation area, boat landing, public building, schoolhouse, school grounds, cemetery, parking lot, or any area owned, leased, or occupied by, or otherwise under the control of the town of Sturbridge, or any place to which members of the public have access as invitees or licensees, or in or upon any bus or other passenger conveyance operated by a common carrier, or in or upon any other place accessible to the public, provided, however, that this bylaw shall not be construed to limit the medical use of marijuana. 8.73, open container prohibition. No person shall, upon any way or in any place to which the public has a right of access, or upon any way or in any place to which members of the public have access as invitees or licensees, or any area owned, leased, or occupied by, or otherwise under the control of the town of Sturbridge, possess open container of marijuana or marijuana products in the passenger area of any motor vehicle. For purposes of this section, open container shall mean the package containing marijuana or marijuana products has its seal broken, or from which the contents have been partially removed or consumed, and passenger area shall mean the area designed to seat the driver and passengers while the motor vehicle is in operation, in any area that is readily accessible to the driver or passenger while in seated position, provided, however, that the passenger area shall not include a motor vehicle's trunk, locked glove compartment, or living quarters of a house coach or house trailer, or if a motor vehicle is not equipped with a trunk, the area behind the last upright seat, or an area not normally occupied by the driver or passenger. Enforcement, this bylaw may be enforced through any lawful means in law or in equity, including but not limited to enforcement by non-criminal disposition pursuant to General Law, Chapter 94C, Paragraph 32N, and General Law, Chapter 40, Paragraph 21D, by the Town Administrator and Board of Selectmen, or their duly authorized agent or any police officer. The penalty for violation of this bylaw shall be $300 for each offense. Any penalty imposed under this bylaw shall be in addition to any civil penalties imposed under General Law, Chapter 94C, Paragraph 32L. 8.75, severability. In the event that any provision, section, or clause of this bylaw is hereafter found to be invalid, such decision, invalidity, or voidance shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of this bylaw, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to
Could you
place and support?
Please repeat that.
Certainly. And I was going to wish you good luck in the race.
No more, right?
No more. Okay. Place in support, Priscilla?
Yes.
Second.
I have a couple of questions. So when we arrived at the $300, I assume this came from planning,
Planning.
obviously. The $300, is that what's mandated in the marijuana statute? This is my question. Or do they give a range?
I don't know.
Yeah, I would just be curious how we got to the 3, because if it's
Okay.
anywhere from 2 to 500, what made us choose 3? Or maybe that's the maximum. I just want to know, is that the minimum? Is that the maximum? And also, in addition to any civil penalty imposed under General 94C, what would the additional civil be? Just for my own knowledge. Because I personally think this is a very good bylaw, but it's also going to keep our police whoever is assigned to Route 20 and 131, extremely busy, because that's the road that I run, and every single time I run, at the stop signs, somebody is smoking pot in the cars, because it's very, very potent. And I'm outside a lot, so you can breathe it in, and I have yet to go once where I don't smell it. No, I'm just saying, so it's going to be a problem, because there is a lot of smoking in cars right now.
Yeah, there is, but they're not going to, they have to have reason.
Oh, I know, of course, you can't just, but it,
Yeah.
well,
Oh, no, it's
Well, yeah, it'd be legal, so, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't pull anybody over for smoking.
just for the fun of it.
Yeah,
no, I get it.
yeah.
Oh, we
I
could
get it,
we
but-
we could have Mary out there, and she can have her cell phone.
I personally, here's the thing, when I'm running, I don't want to breathe it in, I don't want to get, high while I'm trying to exercise.
We need another lane,
That's gives a
marijuana-free.
new definition of runner's high, right?
That's right.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 49, local excise on retail sales of marijuana. To see if the town will vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 64N, Section 3, local excise on retail sales of marijuana at the rate of 3% or take any action relative thereto.
And I think that's the maximum we can impose, 3%.
Motion to place.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's what other towns like Leicester, are they at 3%?
Yeah.
It's max.
That's all
Yeah, max, yeah.
Yeah, this is the
from the state.
local tax.
Oh,
It's not the impact,
okay.
We could,
because
We're still negotiating.
shading
those
them,
agreements,
yeah,
because once they move in, then we can
yeah.
negotiate an additional tax on the negative impact that it can have on town services.
Yeah,
That's my
and
understanding.
there's a limit on that, too.
Yeah.
Impact to runners, that's
No, honestly, if people walking,
We have to pay for Mary's rehab.
thank you, I'm glad that's on. Local tax.
Everybody's eating, oh, God, no. Okay.
Nobody's
Motion to
interested.
place.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 50, Quacumquosset Lake, South Pond, alum treatment. Quacumquosset Lake, that's why we call it South Pond. Water quality, this is by petition, is diminishing due to accumulating phosphorus. The common remedy to mitigate accumulated phosphorus is an alum treatment. The rationale, technical basis, and operational feasibility for treatment have been established. We, QQLA, are currently applying for grant money to fund the treatment, and we request that the town of Sturbridge assume the role of administrative host to the grant. A letter of financial support from the town for $55,000 not to be expended before 2020 is necessary to support our grant application. I just have a question. Is this committing us to financial
I have no idea.
support of $55,000?
It sounds like it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely what it is.
Yeah, it sounds like it's, yeah.
But it's by petition, so we need to.
Oh, it has to go on as
It's
it is?
going on,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So,
You place and support? Or you
well,
holding it?
if you want to,
Want to hold it, or?
no, well, it has to go on. I mean, we
By
can,
petition.
So
we
pla-
can place it.
I'd like to,
Because I need to know if we're committing to $55,000.
It looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah, the way it's written. So, Priscilla, you want to place?
I'll just place it.
Second for the place.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Okay.
I do have some additional information. Barbara did send me some text boxes that address some of the questions you had on the earlier articles. If you-
Sure.
So an article on the cemeteries, it's North Cemetery and Old Burial Ground.
Oh, okay, so it is both.
Yeah. And then Article 7, which was one of the trail articles. This is the text box that will go with that. These funds will be used towards Riverlands development and general trail improvements. This project will construct a 50-car parking lot, fence in the Trails Committee storage sheds located adjacent to the new parking lot, fund the Student Conservation Action Trail Crew, and fund general trail improvements. The Trails Committee has applied for a grant in addition to this request. If the grant is not received, the Trails Committee will work to find other ways to fund a portion of the project. Okay, that was number 7. And finally, number 9, these funds will be used to conduct a feasibility design study which will cover a 2.3-mile section of trail from River and Farquhar Roads to the Riverlands entrance on Stallion Hill Road. The Trails Committee has applied for a grant to offset the cost of this project. If the grant is approved, the amount requested will be reduced to $5,650. We are requesting the full amount of the project due to the importance of moving forward with the project regardless of the grant award. That's what that one is. So they can still provide some, if you want them to come and tell you more about these things, that's fine too.
Right. No, but we already placed and supported, just,
You wanted a
For that-
report on,
yeah.
and I'll get that to you. I don't have anything more on the signs.
Mary?
I just, you're going to be
No,
upset with
good.
me. It's just a question. I know you're going to be meeting with the engineers. You're going to try next Tuesday or whenever. So I would just like this thing asked.
Okay?
Why can't there be one feasibility study for 70? That's what I'm curious about. Like, why can't, because based on what Annie said, she said, oh, for an extra 1,500, we can look at fields only. So why can't there be one feasibility study for 70 that looks at 3 scenarios? Joint, rec only, and senior center only. I don't understand why it costs so much to have
split
3
them out.
separate ones. It sounds like they should be able to tag on, once they're already at 70, looking at all their measurements, whatever the heck they do, why can't that one feasibility study have 3 parts? And you know,
Can I ask?
and maybe it's, 50,000 for 3 parts.
That's the one,
20, 20,
I
10.
think that's the one we were missing.
No, right now, it's thousands for each separate one, and I'm wondering why it can't just be one, because she made it sound like, oh, yes, we can look at just fields for an extra $1,500. So why can't that be combined into one feasibility study? That would be my question, and then we go forward with 3, senior center where it is, rec on 60, and one feasibility study that looks at different ways of using 70. And
Okay.
That's
We
what
can
I
bring that up?
would
Sure.
guess.
Okay, now we have the special town meeting. Article 54, free cash transfer, snow and ice deficit. To see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $50,513 to the snow and ice account, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. Article 55, unpaid bills of a previous fiscal year. 9/10 vote required to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of paying unpaid bills of a prior fiscal year, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to place and support?
Second.
The only thing I have is, we usually have a
Amount.
list.
Yeah, Barbara wasn't here today.
Yeah, but I mean,
I understand. I wouldn't want to give a blank check either.
yeah, well, as a matter of fact, the moderator won't let us either.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, we'll make sure we
Yeah.
flesh these out.
Okay, Chase, you seconded?
Second, yep.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 56, tree warden salary account. See if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $5,500 to the tree warden salary wages account, or take any action relative thereto.
Isn't that in the budget book? Tree ward?
Yes, I think, Mary, you want to?
No, I just have a question on why.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a kind of a feeling that with all the work the tree warden has done on the cleaning up of the trees and not cutting them down and all that progress, that a stipend, an additional stipend above his $200 per month is warranted, and that's what this is.
Yeah, that was for all the work done with all the
Gypsy moth.
gypsy
That
moth
was a
trees
Huge project.
Yeah,
and stuff, because I know it was mentioned to Leon,
yes, and I think this is the number they've kind
the
of come
kind
up
of
with.
with. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, let's see, well,
A motion to place and support.
Yes.
Okay.
I know what he meant.
No, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I knew what I was voting for.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 57, Emergency Action Plan, Cedar Pond Dam and Big Allen Pond Dam. To see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $48,000 to cover the cost of preparing an emergency action plan for Cedar Pond Dam and Big Allen Dam as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 21, Section 65, and 302 CMR 10.11, or take any action relative thereto. That's because those bridges have been designated as high hazard or something like that, and you need an action plan in case they,
Fall down.
Okay, because I was going to ask,
Yeah.
how come we don't need an action plan for our other lakes? Because they don't have a bridge, like Lead Mine and South Pond?
yeah, they don't have dams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man-made impoundment, yes.
All right, and my other thing is, as required by, so have we been like in violation of this law by not having an action plan all these years?
Probably.
I don't know, I
I
can
don't
find
know.
out.
Yeah, I'm just, is this a new requirement, or have we like
Well,
not had an
it
action?
it may just have been after their revaluation of the dams.
Right, so I'm just curious, how long has this been a requirement?
Yeah, it may be something because of the condition of the dam.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Right, right.
Okay, is there a motion to place and support?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 4-0.
Who made the motion?
Priscilla. Article 58, funding for police union contract. To see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash a sum of money to fund the police union contract for fiscal year 2018 and fiscal year 2019, or take any action relative thereto. And I'm sure Barbara will,
With a number.
when she's feeling better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an estimate, but it's
Yeah.
still,
No, it's gotta be,
still not ready.
yeah.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 4-0. Article 59, software, hardware upgrade, Badger meter system, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the water reserve fund balance the sum of $17,240 for a software, hardware upgrade for the Badger system, or Badger meter system, or take any action relative thereto. These are the water meters.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, for the time being, that's it on the warrants. Now, it's 8:30. Do we want to start the line item budget?
Up to you.
I prefer to maybe put it off, but I'll follow the lead of the board.
All right,
We have
I'll
motion
stick
second on the
myself up
last
there too. I would prefer, even if we have to call another meeting, to do it when
Was
we're
Priscilla
fresher.
and Chase.
Because we've been at it for,
Fresh enough.
you're always a little fresh. We've already been at it for, 3.5 hours, and I'm not adverse to making it another special meeting, but I'll be a little sharper myself.
Priscilla?
Yeah, I'll go along with that, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, now, the problem is picking another time. Chase, you can make daytime, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So next Monday's the holiday. This Tuesday. Wednesday, we have the county selectmen at night. And then this Thursday, Friday is Good Friday. Anybody want to make a stab for next week sometime?
Tuesday afternoon,
Tuesday afternoon?
like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Good, I'll be finished my morning coffee.
That's what I figured. I mean, that's just a stab. I don't know how that works for Chase.
No, that works good for me. Tuesday's the best day for me, actually, is
Okay.
during
Mary?
daytime.
That's good.
Okay, so why don't we set it for Tuesday at 1? There's nothing else going on, right?
That's awesome.
We should get through it.
The 16th at 1.
Should we also agree to a nighttime plan in the event that Mike can't make it at 1 in the afternoon? Like, that's our first choice, but Tuesday at 5?
Well, I have a personnel
I
at
won't make
6.
5. I won't make it
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
school.
Yep.
I have personnel at 6.
All right, well, if he can't,
He
then...
can't, there's still 4 of us, we can,
And
I
then
can't-
do you want a second meeting this month for a regular
Business meeting.
board meeting? Because we canceled our next one.
Isn't our next one the 22nd?
That's what I thought.
In my minutes, from what it was decided last meeting,
It went to May?
that we're gonna move everything that was on the 22nd to May.
Oh, okay.
But they,
because of your discussions about
Oh,
Holy Week.
right. That's right, I forgot about that. I forgot I had it in my calendar for May, and I said, oh, no, I must have missed a week.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and as a matter of fact, I was confused too and had to go back to
I
Janae.
looked at my minutes, I'm like, this is all I got.
Okay.
But Jean had already made arrangements for the marijuana people and
On
the
the
students
22nd?
to come in on May 6th,
Oh, on May 6th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
because Janae has better notes than our minds, so.
So we have nothing Monday night. We have
We have-
Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday night, the Selectmen
Yep.
regional
And
thing.
then we're done, and then
Then we're
unless we're done till May, unless we have a budget, right?
Well, we should finish, well, as a
May
matter of fact,
not.
we should have been finished. We should finish the line items,
On what, Tuesday afternoon?
yeah, and probably, but we won't have the rest of the,
You won't have these
By
articles
Tuesday,
on
no.
the studies by then, no.
No. So why don't we set a meeting for the 29th?
Okay.
Budget
No, we
or
can't,
business?
that's that charrette.
Oh, that's the charrette, that's
Yeah.
right.
Other than 30th, the Monday, the 30th is a Monday, right?
No, it's a Tuesday.
Okay, so. And when is the charrette?
Monday,
So we
the
could, we
29th.
could have a meeting on Tuesday night.
Yep, you could,
Yeah.
I won't be here.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't matter, you can do it anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
it'll just
still
be-
have 4 people.
It'll just be tightening up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the third meeting on the 30th, is that a budget meeting or a business meeting?
Regular meeting,
Regular meeting,
unless we,
unless you break it up.
yeah, we'll have to see where we are on the budget. If we don't finish the budget, we'll finish it that night along with
Yeah,
wanna
that sounds good.
business.
Do it at our normal time, 6:30?
Yeah, 6:30 or, yeah. Now, I hope I don't forget these. Okay,
And again, on May 6th, correct?
yeah, and then we'll be back to our first
Yeah.
and third,
So we
because,
typically do the first and third Monday.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't usually do it
And-
during the day.
on the 6th, we have to reorganize the board. It's usually the first meeting after the election, but it was the next day, just about.
Used to be that way.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
but it wasn't time enough to get it on the agenda,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
you
So
know.
is that just an agenda item?
Yeah, yeah. Jeff will, we usually do it at the beginning of the meeting. Jeff will rule the roost on that one,
Okay.
take nominations and votes and,
That's right. I forget that, yeah. Forget about that.
yeah. Yeah, okay. So, are we done?
Are you looking for something? A motion to adjourn? That's what I wondered. I was just waiting.
Good meeting.
Well,
No, it's good, you know.
oh, I know, but
You didn't vote?
it's been confusing, and I'll tell you, with the two committees meeting together too, it was confusing, and it wasn't all the rec people,
I can imagine.
yeah,
I can imagine.
so.
Assuming the adjourn vote is 4-0.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to assume.
You read our